this book on sleep a while back, and there was two
We're here, we're live, we're
sorry.
coming at you, and
I
the
looked
dishes are done in my house and yours.
Yes,
Go
I just started the dishwasher, literally.
Wow, I did a little earlier.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just saying, like with the sleep book, it was talking that there are actually two kinds. There are actually night owl people and early bird people. But the problem is the whole social structure has structured around early bird, and the school system has structured around early bird, and especially when it comes to like teenagers and stuff, they're really meant to be up later physically, like in their brains, the way their brains are developing and working. They're
Wait,
really
how
not
old?
like teenagers, like 13,
Oh, right, yeah,
14,
I know.
and then going on
Yeah,
to
they're
18.
supposed to be like pondering. Their brain is like.
But it says that they shouldn't be up until around 10, 10:30, 11. They shouldn't be up at like 7:30 and be trying to do things, which sounds exactly right from what I remember, because you would just be sitting there.
I remember, dude, in
trying to stay
college,
awake.
sophomore year of college, being like, how has 4 a.m. become bedtime?
Yeah.
It's like, well, our class is at 11:30 tomorrow. It's like, oh, that's close to 8 hours.
Right. You're kind of just running a midday shift. But I used to do that too. I switched all my classes to nighttime, and I learned a lot better that way. I was like awake at 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock, 6 to 8.
I think like adjusting to that would be rough, but I think once I got there, and settled into it, I'd be like, this is so much better, because I'd be like annoyed with the waiting and having to not do anything
right
until the class at nighttime. But it's like, okay, well, you'll just do it after the class and then you can sleep in. Classes are at night.
Right.
It was like being a waiter.
Yeah. I always wish I had done that. Maybe I should go try it for a little bit. Just be a waiter.
The easiest job ever.
But I mean, there's a lot of sales in that, because you learned how to handle people, you learned how to handle customers. I mean, I guess I handled customers, but I don't know. I wanted to understand the dynamic.
The only sales obstacle was getting them in the door, and I didn't even have to do anything to get them to do that. It's like they're already here. All I have to do is just not be a dick or like a disturbance, but like be there when they need me.
But didn't you have trouble with like tips and stuff? Like, wouldn't you have a trouble with, like you'd serve somebody and then they wouldn't tip or something like that? Did that happen a lot?
It was like, dude, I don't know if it ever happened to me once. Maybe one time someone left like $1 because they were like kids. Because remember, it was state college, so my expectations were really low as far as like getting a huge tip.
Right.
It's just the difference in economy. So my thing was like get them in and out. I would like
the turnover. Yeah, the turnover. Right.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going for the big whale. I'm going for many bluefish.
You're like dropping their cups of coffee, and you're just like, and here's the check.
Like, and you're done. Drink it, finish it. You know what? You didn't even need coffee. It's nighttime. Do you drink coffee at night ever?
No, I can't. I learned I can't drink it after 5. I've actually cut back a bunch. I'm down to like only like one. I pour a second cup, but I barely ever finish it. And then there's like a remnant at nighttime of my morning cup that I didn't finish.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a reheater. If I missed it on its first round of warmth, I'm done. It's over.
Yeah.
I'm not returning. Not doing a science experiment.
Recycle coffee. That's it. Like becomes something different.
Yes.
It's like that. There's like this scene in a show, and it's a whole other episode to get into, but it's like if you're drinking your coffee and you have like your perfect mix of cream and whatever, and you're halfway through and the waitress comes and pours like tops you off. Like, it's more, but now it's totally different from what I was drinking.
I had it all in balance. Yeah.
It's like alive.
I need 30 milliliters of half and half, please, because now you've screwed it all. Right.
How am I supposed to do this math? It's all liquid.
I've been trying to experiment with different coffees because there was a new grocery store that opened up and they have coffee from an Amish roaster or some roasting place in Lancaster. And
Ah, Lancaster.
it's kind of nice that it's there and it's like $5 a pound, like an actual like 16-ounce pound of coffee. And which is a really
Wow.
good price. So I was like, okay, and it's in nice bags that seal and I don't have to
Five
like rip
dollars?
open. Yeah.
That's
It's
really cheap.
I know. And
I
it has
remember
a
back in, pardon me, but back in
you're
2000,
excused.
2006, nay, seven, but around 20 years ago,
Yeah.
your dad asking me what kind of coffee I was drinking because I just came to your house and I had Wawa, and I was like, "Oh, it's the new Kona," and your dad's like, "Oh, that's
I
expensive. It's
remember
from
Kona.
Hawaii."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, is that expensive?" He's like, "Yeah, it's about $7 a bag." I'm like, "Whoa." And he's like, "Do you know what that is? Do you know why that's expensive?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Do you know what normal bags are?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I just assumed that what you were saying." I wanted to give you the proper response, having no idea what the line
Whoa.
was. He's like, $4. I was like, "Oh, so $4 was normal 20 years ago."
Yeah.
Such a long walk to get
I,
there.
yeah.
Memory lane.
I think probably back then too, my parents were probably just drinking like Maxwell House, like in that giant jar, like I think we had like
Yeah,
Folgers in
every
like
parent
the giant tin and it was
wants
already
to get the
ground
tub.
and it went stale like 3 months ago and you're still scooping it out with the little Kool-Aid scooper.
Aren't you
Um,
curious now the things that you didn't really monitor your parents doing that you do now? Like the weird, annoying crap that you have to do throughout the day to like maintain, like how they did it. Like who was in charge of the filter, or was it just random? Or
I've
did
gone
you do it
back.
the night before?
I've gone back and watched the like all like the home videos and yeah, it's because I'm watching it and they're doing all the things like they're making the coffee, they're wiping down the counters, they're doing all these things, and I was like,
Oh,
I just
oh,
did
weird.
not notice one bit
I was
that they were
not
doing any of
trying to
that stuff.
notice. I was looking away at all times.
It's so good, but also I don't think again when people complain and stuff like these are one of the things I'm like you get coffee, you can go to the grocery store even if you are, let's say, spending $10 on a pound of coffee or something, or if you go to a fancy roaster, like you walk a little bit further and you go to a fancy roaster and it's $12, $15 a pound, you're still
Ah,
getting beans from mixed from Costa Rica with people perfecting it and analyzing it and making sure that it's a proper blend and that it's constant and that it's the same every time. And I mean, it's just
how did we get so lucky to be born now? And I even came up with an even greater, like an add-on to that theory about how lucky we are, like the Goldilockses of Goldilockses. It's like we're also probably going to die when it gets really ugly. It's like we're gonna be like, oh, see ya.
goodbye.
I mean, it's gonna be hot everywhere.
We're going to be the last generation where they say, would you like to be downloaded into this computer? And we go, no,
No.
nope. Like somebody's going to come around and go, would you like immortality? And we'll be the last generation that goes, no. Everyone else will be like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And we'll be like, nope,
Right.
it's a fun ride. Thanks for
I
having
don't think
us.
it's supposed to go forever. The roller coaster stops.
Out.
And
See
the
ya.
safety bar comes up and you feed the worms. Thankful
Yeah. I mean, I
just to
think
be.
that's kind of the point, right? Like you gotta, it's really tough. I mean, it's been tough for me. Like I told you, since losing the job and stuff, like my brain just is jumping all over the place. Like
Oh,
today was just it was a good day. I was productive, but I wasn't productive. Looking for jobs or figuring out what I'm doing at the end of this whole thing. It was I went over and I fixed the sink at our rental property, and everybody was cool with that.
I
Went out to like a
keep
hardware
forgetting.
store, got all the pieces and fixed it. So felt good. Got the pieces for the fence because the tree fell out back and destroyed our fence. So I went to Home Depot and got all the pieces, but a cheesesteak from the place that's attached to the Home Depot. Didn't get sick, so that's cool. And then it's been 5 hours, so I figure
Yeah,
keep.
right.
And then
Done.
and then picked up Leo, got a haircut. Like it's a very achievable day, but this is like a day. It's like, all right, I'm going to count this day as a win because it's
Yeah,
like
I
I
know.
didn't sit there.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask you, dude. Like, I mean, you can do what very few can, but like, what is it like looking for a job? You know, because for me it was horrific. Because I was like, well, I've only done one thing since I moved to Florida, really, and that's staffing. So like, that's kind of the lane I'm stuck in.
I mean, I feel like it's been kind of like what online dating was like.
Uh,
Lots of fake posts,
the
lots of
responses are just not where. Yeah.
lots of me submitting
Uh,
things and knowing I'm already not going to be selected. Um, so I mean, I think the actual job hunting is a
so
joke. I
funny.
think it's dumb
Why?
because it
I know
uh,
it's like, oh, you're gonna just like nail the one. It
like
always happens so strangely.
whenever I would hire people, I wasn't, the recruiters would always look and say, "Oh, but this person doesn't have this thing that you need," or "But this person doesn't have a degree," or something like that. And
Yeah, but they have everything
I'd
else.
say, okay, but let me talk to them. And they're like, no, 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 it's going to be a waste of time. I'm like, look, you haven't brought all the people that you said weren't a waste of time were a waste of time. So how crazy is the logic to just say that, hey, why don't you just send me this person? It looks like they have some achievements. It looks like they're kind of interesting. Why don't we just talk to them? Because for the most part, I just wanted somebody with a heartbeat. I wanted somebody with a heartbeat that likes to work.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it. That's it.
I'll
Understands
teach them
just
the
go.
job.
You just
And
gotta go.
yeah, I want
Like
somebody who
work,
can
work,
learn
work, work.
and who gets the job done and doesn't make excuses is really it. And so I feel like I'm that way for the most part. And so I feel like if I could just talk to somebody, I'd probably be able to get a job. But the other thing is I'm in a unique situation where, I'm not financially burdened because of, like getting laid off and stuff. But I I think it might be an opportunity for me to do a lot of the things that I wanted to do for so long, and it's a real
Uh
stressor because I don't have any excuses left. Like I just said, I don't make excuses, but in my
huh.
personal life or anything that I really want to accomplish, I've made tons of excuses, and for the most part, I've always blamed work. Right? I've always blamed, oh, I do that, but I got so much work. Right
You have
now,
one of the funniest lines ever. I break promises to myself every day.
yeah,
And you know what? No one gets mad at me for it. It's so true. And
yeah.
that's so weird, man. It's like you have all this free time and you're like, I don't know. It's like, here, you have unlimited paint and here's a wall and it's blank. Paint whatever you want. It's like, you got to stare at the marble for 7 weeks.
Well,
Still, like
I,
John
I,
Locke
I am, I am
told Boone.
I'm sort of a get the gear type person, a stare at the marble. Like I'm perfectly fine staring at the marble,
Hmm.
but the actual acting is the difficult part. And
I know,
like
procrast.
for me, even today, Ruby and I stopped at Goodwill, and I bought a pair of those perfect push up things. You know, those like perfect push up things that like spin when you do a push up. It was like an old infomercial thing, but
The red and black.
it got very popular. Like as you do a push up, like you spin or something, right?
Yeah, they're good.
Um, I'm I'm su-
Elongate the
I'm
bicep.
I'm sure they are, but as I was checking out with them, I was thinking to myself,
Do I
Mike,
need
like, have you done enough push-ups to need to move to the next realm of push-ups? Right? Like, have you have you pushed yourself to the
you're,
pinnacle
you're at the
of
peak
of
of regular push-ups.
of what your body can do, and now the thing that's really, really holding you back is that your wrist isn't spinning at the end. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I
Let's
definitely look for excuses to hold
go back
myself
to
back
regular.
and blame something else, instead of just doing it. So
Oh, that's funny. That's funny, dude. I will talk myself out of like not necessary unnecessary things, but like, do you really need it? No, you don't need it. But it could help.
yeah,
But nah, you don't need that much help.
I mean, I always think of people I know that kind of have like a simpler life with things. Like I don't like to collect junk, but I end up collecting junk when I have a thought of where I'll finish with the junk, but I just leave out that, you know, South Park underpants part in the middle. It's like collect underpants, question mark, make profit, right? I I don't really sit down and think about that question
That's
mark
so
in the
funny.
middle. It's like, perfect push up, spinny things, Mike with abs, question mark, like in the middle. It's like I don't want to
Right.
do the question mark part.
I know. That's why I was so bad at math. I was always like, there's just steps that I just don't commit. I don't want to do them.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, I spend my days doing weird things. Like I spent a very long time researching how to throw a knuckleball, thinking I would become a knuckleball thrower for the Phillies when they're in town. Um,
can't believe that.
you know, I even
When
thought
they're in
through them.
town,
But here's the thing:
when they're
instead of
home.
thinking through an exercise regime, where I'm going to throw, thousands of baseballs, like instead of thinking of any of those things, the fact that I've never pitched, the fact that my shoulder dislocates all the time, the fact that my knees aren't what they used to be, I mean, besides all of those things, where my mind goes is the meeting where I'm trying to negotiate with the Phillies.
Where you're like, look, I can throw it. I know how. I learned how to throw it. It's like, but how fast? How many times?
No, 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 no. The
You're already there.
subject of the meeting that was going on in my head was more about negotiating with them that I wouldn't have to travel on the road with them. Basically, I was giving them a deal. I was like, look, this sounds
Oh
a lot
man.
of fun, guys, but I'll just be by when you're in town and when I can make it. All right. So, like, you need me 6 o'clock on a Wednesday. I'll check it the week before and I'll drive over. I'll take the subway. I'll show up in uniform, just walk in the back door. You tell me when I need to come on. And then afterwards, I'm just gonna head back home. Okay. Like I'll just be like a thing that paratroops in.
Uh,
But my whole thought process was just the actual meeting with the guys. Like this will be fine,
it,
right?
it's almost like in my early days when I was like really good buddies with Johnny Garvin and we would like get in trouble and I would try to lie on the spot and just get buried. And then like later on with Clark where it was like, okay, I am actively committing, trouble, like a punishable act. And I learned how to like, bankroll pre-made lies at the ready.
Pre-made lies were always
Excuses.
no. You were very good at the pre-made lies.
Yeah, dude, that
They had
was
been
it.
said so many times they were actually true. Like there
It was
wasn't.
like it was like Clark and I did so much like, oh, we're gonna get in trouble that we would be like, okay, what are we gonna say we were doing? So we would always have like a little tiny miniature backup in case things went south. I remember sometimes with you throwing them out there and you being like, what the fuck? And then, it would work. And then you'd be like, how did you like think to say that? I have one waiting. I've been trained since 6th grade.
I always liked when you double down and turn a lie into an accusation of the other person. You'd be like, not only that, but my dad owns this place that you're currently working at. Like you're now making it so large. You're just trying to kind of take all the oxygen out of the room of the argument. Like you would just expand it. You'd be like, well,
Well, you
actually,
know what it is? It's like if there was ever like a discrepancy or whatever the heck the word is in the past that I just kind of like let slide. It's like I'm just gonna pile that on too. If you were being a dick.
we're just taking it all out. You're coming with me.
I found this
Oh, is
in
that
Disney World.
Hermione?
Yes. And we thought we lost it, and Charlie found it the other day.
Oh, nice. I made the kids ones for Halloween this year. Like I just grabbed some tree branches because I was like,
Yeah.
tree branch.
Expelliarmus.
It's a tree branch. Like
It
it's a
is
literal tree branch.
a plastic branch with vine.
And I glued some LEDs to the end of it. I don't think I wired them completely because they started getting pretty hot, and I was just like, I sent them in like proton packs with the kids. I was like, turn these on. Do not shine them in anybody's eyes because they're way too bright. Like these are industrial LEDs.
Like the satellites may pick you up.
Yeah. And I'm like, and also, if they start getting hot or smoking, you turn them off. Like keep them off at school. On the way home, you can turn them back on. Probably wasn't the safest thing, but
Start smoking. Jesus.
yeah. Well, I think I had to. I probably had to put some resistors in there, in between everything, and I just didn't have anything. So I'm like, I just strung it right to the batteries, and yeah, it can probably. You're not really supposed to do that with LEDs, but had them lying around from the Green Lantern days.
Did I tell you that Damon Lindelof is writing the Green Lantern series for
Yeah,
HBO?
That's
whatever.
the guy from
James Gunn.
Lost. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh. You just locked up, John. No. Put it in a break time. Break time. Break time. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Feels like it turned off or something. Bum ba da bum.
That was really annoying.
What happened?
It was unplugged. And it was
Oh, the
not,
laptop. I guessed it.
I texted you. Shit was unplugged. Heard it. I read it in Rye's voice. Shit was unplugged.
All right.
Ugh.
So you were saying about the
Yeah.
Green Lantern?
Yeah. I'm just. I think it's fun. It's cool because like when James Gunn was at Marvel and he was, he did the Guardians, he was gonna kind of like be Feige's like number two and kind of show run all the stuff that happens like on that end in outer space. So Feige would focus on like the stuff in like New York. So it'd be cool if Lindelof kind of became like that version of like all the crap that goes along with the Lanterns that could be like its own cinematic universe.
Yeah, I mean the Lanterns got really complicated.
I imagine so with all the colors.
Well, I mean it ramped up so quickly with the colors, and they were supposed to. Well, white didn't come out until a while later. That was after Darkest or Blackest Night. And then that came back as like Life, and it was like Swamp Thing and stuff like that. I don't know. It was, but it ramped up. But the problem is if you jump right into that one, you miss Blackest Night, which was a crazy event. But if you rush to it, you also the point of it was to get all of these different payoffs as it was happening, and so if you jump right into it, then you're just going to read it as zombies, and it wasn't really zombies. It was like infectious, like end of the world scenario. Like it was like a movement.
Well, the cool thing is they're investigating something that's like happening on Earth. Hal Jordan and I'm drawing a blank on the brother man. We did a whole video on this channel about
Jon Stewart.
Johnny. Not from the Daily Show.
No.
It's those two, and they're like down here. And it's cool because I know it all loops together. So it'll be fun to watch Damon Lindelof write something where he already knows the ending.
Yeah. I hope it goes well. I just don't. I don't get as excited about these things.
I'm always optimistic.
I feel like
my expectations are always like low.
I feel like with Green Lanterns, though, you could just have like one season to Hal Jordan, one season to Jon Stewart, one season, where Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen are matched up and going around, and then bring in Kyle Rayner, like just take baby steps through it. Don't try to have this big event yet. Just like with the Marvel universe, things were in New York first. Then they started going out. Now one of the biggest problems in Marvel is they're trying to kind of bring it back in. It's like, why? Like, what would it matter if there's a perch snatcher in New York right now when half of existence just ended, or there's a giant thing that almost ripped the earth open in the Antarctic?
I know, and they still haven't talked about it. Like the Ant-Man kept referencing it. He's like, I did save the world. Like it doesn't really matter what happens now or what I do.
Right.
I helped everyone, and that's a shame. And I remember thinking that after Endgame, I'm like, it sucks. I just got into this shit and there's no way they're topping this.
Well, no, the way they could have topped it was to take a break.
Yeah.
The way they could have topped it was to just stop.
Yeah.
And let it simmer.
You're right. They overexpanded.
They just tried to get right back into stories. Like, all right, and this is what happens to them. That was Monday. Now here's what happens to them on Tuesday. You're like,
but hold on.
I need to
catch massive.
My breath, And,
yeah.
And I would have started with another seed, somewhere else completely. You could even just stop that universe. Maybe that's just the end. Everybody lived happily ever after. It's over.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
And a couple people get pulled into another one, which is currently happening or happened. with Beast and Photon.
Oh yeah,
She got pulled into another thing, and he was there.
yeah.
It almost feels like late WCW, where they're like, wait, I thought he hated that guy last week. Why are they friends now? It's like there's no continuity expert at all.
Right,
It's just
right.
like executives.
Yeah. They're like, show them something blue. Do the da-da-da-da-da-da in the background. Do it. Sir, don't you
Yeah, but
think?
that's
Just
not how
turn
he
it.
looks like in any of the movies he's been in, and it's his voice.
Let's just bring Grogu in. But should we really mix them? Do it again in like 2008. Would have been on board. Just the fact that you would have seen the mixture, but they did everything so well. It's like I really just need to. You just need to start over. You need to start off easy. You can't just go right into the next home run. Like you got to play small ball. You gotta,
the
like just
streaming wars. It's funny how many implosions are like occurring in the streaming wars, and Netflix is just still like. Sorry,
sorry.
we had quite the lead. If you think about it, we were doing this.
Well,
It's
Disney
weird.
made. I mean, I never understood Disney Plus. That didn't make any sense to me because
It's
they
so
could.
anti-Disney.
Well,
They just make everyone else charge.
why wouldn't you just license it
Right.
out and be like, oh, I'm sorry,
Like Sony.
HBO Max or whatever you're calling yourself this day, you want some of this?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want Endgame? Okay,
Dude,
it's gonna cost you.
Sony, man. Sony's the only one that have like held out. There's no Sony Plus. They're just like, oh, would you like Spider-Man for the month of June?
Right.
Not July, just June.
This is the
A
price.
million.
Yeah.
For just one of them.
You can't even have all of them. Yeah.
Right.
You can have all the Venoms. Be my guest. You can have the Venoms until eternity. But
yeah, Venom. It's weird because the Venom, like the dynamic between them two is it's funny. It's like I guess the only way to go with him as the main character. He's like good, but kind of but he eats people.
yeah.
But it's like the world that they're in is like just not. I'm like barely aware of where we are.
It's a goofy world. It's a very goofy world, and it could have been another opportunity for like Venom. Later on, when he becomes a hero, he moves to Philly.
Oh yeah, Agent Venom or
I don't know, just
something Venom.
He comes. Oh yeah, he calls himself something. But whatever. I mean,
he goes into like the Punisher, and then the Punisher is like I don't know, so strong that he's not like a criminal.
I don't know, but things just need to slow down. You need to go back to like writing a good story and just pick some nobody character.
Dude,
like
on all fronts.
Just give me a little Booster Gold. Give me a little original Blue Beetle. Like just give me like pick your genre. Just kind of like what they did with Mandalorian, right? All right, we're gonna make a Western.
Right.
It's gonna be Mandalorian, right? Do that. Make a murder mystery with Blue Beetle. Make a murder mystery with Boston. What's his name? Boston Brand, like Dead Man.
Cord. What's Beetle's dad?
Beetle's
the original
dad?
one.
Oh,
the original
Ted Cord.
Ted Cord. My name is Ted Cord. I'm still alive. That's how Blue Beetle ended in a post-credit scene. And the kid who plays him in that one is going to be in these new ones. So I know what you mean, man. They gotta slow down. Like,
well, there's no emotion though, right? You say that like, oh, like I'm his son. It's like I don't even like who is he?
I know. I never met him. I don't know what he looks like. He doesn't sound Hispanic.
Well, wait. They said Ted Cord is related to Hyman?
No. It was just his voiceover a thing at the very end, at the post credits. But it reminds me of what I see happening in wrestling, and the Mark fans, the fans that will go no matter what, if it's good or bad,
Mhm.
uh, Marvel has become that, where in wrestling, instead of this story in the ring, there's high spot after high spot after high spot, like, big, almost basically finisher move,
Right.
and then like kick out, and then like they do the finisher now 3 times before they can actually pin it.
Right.
There's
And other
no in
people are doing
between.
other people's finishers.
Yeah. There are no finishers that like put people away. Like everyone kicks
Well,
out.
they're also doing finishers that negate previous finishers. Like where there was
And
like some big battle that where, somebody knocked somebody else out, and then for some reason today,
yeah,
like a
I
50-pound
hate
person
it,
is now
dude.
doing like
And some of the new like
like a
finishing
spear.
moves that like they're doing, like that like they weren't doing when I watched, they're so like just fake looking, and it's like that's not a finisher. Like the Superman punch, like the guy jumps up in the air and punches you. I'm like, do you know how much weaker your punch is without your feet on the ground?
Right. Right.
You're not like planning yourself. You're just kind of like smacking him. It's like it's obviously not going to hurt anyone. He's won the title, like beating Brock Lesnar with that stupid move.
I think we left the analogy, but yeah, I was
Yeah, but it is. It's high spots, and that's what Marvel. That's what like Ant-Man was to me. It was like, God, they usually let Paul Rudd like do so much. In this one, it was just like, I will save you, Cassie. I love you. And then it's like, all right, Cassie, we can do this together. Quip, cheesy one. And then that was it. It was just like, it was like a poster, a trailer scene, 2 hours of it.
I
I was
mean,
like,
yeah, you're right. That movie was Paul Rudd in the beginning, and like the
yeah,
Paul Rudd
right.
walking down the sidewalk
Yeah,
somehow
right.
somehow
Yeah,
was the best part of that movie.
right. I know,
'Cause
both times.
it was the only like those were the only 2 times that you were actually kind of like relaxed and just enjoying it and not really confused why people like the plot only happens because people don't talk, and that's weird. It's like, "Oh, I made this device. Oh, I had no idea you do all these things, but I love you so much." But we just don't talk or
Dude, and they
reprimand
made the
you for getting
quantum realm.
arrested or it's
When I heard about it, I was like, the whole movie down there, that's awesome. But then when I was watching it, I was like, no way.
well,
This place had to be way scarier for them to like, and they couldn't be here the whole time.
no, well, I think it probably. I mean, I don't know how it is in the comics, so I don't know what it looks like in the comics.
I
But
think it's called the microverse.
in previous movies, just going off the previous movies, like it seemed like a dangerous, deadly, where you'd lose your mind type
Right.
place,
That's what
right?
Hank Pym says. He's like, all time and space don't exist. Your mind becomes warped. He's like, it's
Right.
almost impossible to exist down there.
But then he just goes down there and he's like,
And
"Look, a
everyone's
guy
just
looks like
hanging out.
broccoli." Yeah. And there's a bar. Like there's an information desk. It's like, wait, what?
There was this scene with Bill Murray is so awesome when he arrives because the music is so good.
Yeah.
Uh, but that was like the best.
But
That was the best
but
part. It
can
was
you
like,
go? Can you go? Like, there's just so many questions. Can you go smaller?
yeah,
Like, can you be in that bar and then shrink down, and there's a whole other universe like in the bar stool? Like, I don't.
right.
I
They
don't
were
understand.
giant in the quantum realm. I was like, gosh, gosh. I guess it's all relative. It's just whatever, wherever you are.
Well, should he have hyper energy? Like, it would have been interesting if he shrunk because when he gets really big on Earth, he gets like super tired. Right when he becomes giant man, he gets really tired. But when he shrinks down and he's in the tiny verse or whatever, then when he gets big, he also gets tired. And it's like, well,
But you're really,
but
really
you're really
small.
little. Right. Yeah. So I'm just the
It,
rules just needed to be a lot clearer.
yeah, they were real messy, and that's another thing with wrestling. It's like there's these like made up rules that like kind of, I don't know. help suspend your disbelief. And
Right.
when they bend those rules, sometimes it's cool, but when they just smash those rules, it's like, all right, well, I don't even know what this is anymore. I'm kind of watching it from third person.
I mean, if there's no rules, then you can't go along for the ride.
Yeah,
You
right.
can't put yourself in the seat. Like when you watch the original Star Wars, you're like, all right, this kid's on a dusty planet and he's whiny. I'd probably be whiny too if I was on a dusty planet. And he's like, I want to go hang out with my friends. um,
Real quick.
when you slowly get the rules of the world, it's not immediately, here's a lightsaber, and now all of a sudden Luke just knows exactly what to do with it.
That's
It's
what
like,
blew
well,
my mind in like Game of Thrones. They were like, "Oh, there used to be dragons, yeah, but not anymore." And then they're like, dead eggs, I guess." And then at the end, you were like, "Oh!" Because they like were like, "Well, they were here, so you
right,
bought it."
right.
At the end of the first season,
Yeah, they just
they're all
eased you
on her.
into it, and then you're like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, so this is going to be this changes the world on
Yeah.
a big scale,
Yes.
right? I'm going to get to see how everyone reacts to this news.
We're gonna now watch 7 more seasons of her botch this power.
One thing I really liked about that show was how news traveled. How they would kind of get some parts of things wrong. Like how it would be like a rumor, or you
Dude,
know, my,
that's what this show Shogun is, because it's these translators that kind of like lie. They like the
mm,
power that fucking translators had, dude. It's crazy. Or at least that they like are making it seem like they did in the show Shogun, because
yeah,
they can bend people and leave out information.
ah,
Cool idea. Cool idea for
that
like
is a
a
cool idea. Yeah,
secret show premise.
yeah, that is good.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah. I need something good. I need something good to watch. I'm like everything is kind of just fallen off. I've been going backwards in time to watch older things, and I've still been enjoying those books. They did just. I found I started researching the book that I'm reading, and they did just come out with some English, because they came out with French ones before, but they came out with English Dark Horse comics. They made it of the
Oh, I
first
remember
book,
them.
so they made 6 books, like in 2021 or something
Dark
like that.
Horse. I think Umbrella Academy was from them.
I mean, Dark Horse has tons. Like I think they. Well, I think IDW did Ninja Turtles, but I think Dark Horse did some of them too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
there's like
it's
a
it's
lot.
kind of like the other. That's the ECW, right?
I
That's
was just gonna say that. Look at you. I'm impressed. Yeah, they were like small, but they made a significant impact.
Yeah, they're like, we'll take everything else. Oh, you want
A
to
lasting
write a
impact.
Batman story is $1 billion? It's like, we'll just make a Batman. It's fine. But yeah, if you go to like a comic book show, it's fun to see all these like little ones. But this,
The indies.
yeah, she hasn't sold the movie rights or TV rights, but there were whispers with Netflix. So I'm hoping to finish it before all that explodes. But
That's
it's
smart.
an awesome story. Awesome. Like I keep getting like I finished the first book, and the last sentence of the first book, I just wanted to just throw the book across the room and be like, why? Like, well, it was just so impactful.
Uh-huh.
And
That's what it was like when I read The Red Wedding before, before season 3
I can't
aired.
imagine. Yeah.
And I was like next to, an ex in bed. She's like, and I like dropped the book on the ground, and book 3 is like this. And it was like, dun, dun. She's like, what? I'm like, they just killed like all the good guys.
Yeah. All of them. It's crazy. There
Love it.
hasn't been there
I
hasn't
love
been
that stuff.
much of that. Like if somebody dies in it, it's a big emotional thing. But the fact that I read this later one first and now I'm going back to the beginning is, I think it's the right way to go, because it's just, I feel like the first few books might be boring if you weren't looking for an explanation of what they referred to in the later trilogy. So the fact that like now I'm going back and he's young and he's like learning all these things. I'm like, oh, when
Oh,
is
like
this event going to happen? Like, I just need to know when this event's going to happen, like this big thing that I know happened to him, but I
oh,
don't
you
know
mean you
when,
fought together in the Clone Wars?
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Like I want to know how he became Vader. Right.
Yep. Uh-huh.
So it's
Which
been
is
fun.
still pretty good.
I've enjoyed it. Which is still pretty good. I still think it could have been great if they just gave him more time.
I think it would have been great if he started as like Anakin in late episode 2. Where like him and Padme are like older, and they're already like saving each other from crap,
Yeah.
and the clones are discovered like in the beginning of that. Like if they started there and did
Right.
2 more, that would have been crazy.
I
Like the
think that
whole the
yeah.
third one was Vader. He was Vader the whole movie.
Then it could have been more their relationship, and it would have been less creepy as there was no reason for Padme to fall in love with him when he was like 7. That was weird. Like that, I care for you. Like just stop it.
I know,
It's
Sam.
like, and then later on, you're gonna
Oh,
you're gonna date each other. It's weird.
gets everywhere.
I care for you. It's like,
All
ugh.
right.
Anyway,
I wanted to get into this because actually before we get into this question, because the title, did I fail my duty as a father to protect my child? Oh man, dude, I had like one of the worst moments ever as a dad. I think it was Monday. Hannah was getting in the shower, and she's like taking like 3 or 4 showers. She's like just started taking them. And she like wears this like cap so she doesn't have to, if she doesn't need to wash her hair, just so it won't get wet.
Yeah.
And right before she went in, I was like, hey, wait, where's the soap? And she's like, oh, it's upstairs. So I go up and I get it. I get the soap. I'm walking in and she sees me. And so she turns around. And when I was running up to get the soap upstairs, in my head, I was like, remember to hold her hand and walk her in because the shower's been running.
Right.
So
Yeah.
by the time I get the soap and get all the way down there, I'm like, here you go, bud. And she turns around to walk in and boom, dude, just whack, just straight back, hits her head. And like, if you think about it, when you fall or anything, especially if you fall backwards, you close your eyes for like a sec, like you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So she did that for like a second, and for that split second, I went like, oh my God, open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes, like a trillion times. It felt like, but it was really a millisecond.
Right.
And I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I picked her up and she's crying, and I had that stupid shower cap on her head, and I had to like rip it off and throw it, and it got like caught in her ponytail, and she's like, get off. And she's all wet because the shower was raining down on her.
Right.
Of course, I hit myself in the back of the head a little too hard there.
Are you okay?
Yeah. But dude, like for like a split second, and I forgot to hold her hand, like the worst feeling ever. And then in the moment, man, I'm crying and I'm like, Hannah, I'm so sorry I didn't hold your hand. And she backs up and looks and she's like, Dad, I'm all right. Don't cry. Yeah. It hurts, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then like the shift to like how my daughter just like, I don't know what the word is, but like she didn't coddle me, but she like made sure I was okay. She mothered me basically.
All of a sudden, you need to help.
I'm the victim, right? I was like, no, this isn't what should be happening. Like, right. And I was like, but like, it was one of those things where it was like I sort of saw it coming, so it like hit me in the moment.
Sure.
Usually there's like a delay with stuff like that for me.
Sometimes it's tough too because
it's the worst thing I've ever seen.
They might be doing stuff. We had a similar situation at a water park once, and they were jumping around, on like the wet tile of the bathroom. And I was like, stop it. Like, you keep jumping like that, you're going to fall. And then as they were falling, I was thinking, I mean, I told them not to do this, but
10
I'm
times.
also very scared, and I'm not. And then you have an internal struggle of, did I fail them? Well, no, I told them, but how old are they? And should I have prevented this? And how long do I have to wait to tell them that I told them? Like, is this a punishment moment? Is this a like, what? What?
I usually go worst case scenario, like I go like Final Destination, like you slip in the bathtub and
Yeah.
like
I was
like
just think,
worst
I was just
case.
explaining Final Destination to Ruby today when we were walking into Home Depot. It was
Oh,
so funny. I
that
was like,
movie freaked me out. I was like, I'm afraid to live now.
well, I was buying big poles for the fence, and I was like, well, this is, and I'm shoving them in the CRV, which, it's a 10-foot pole, so it has to go kind of across, and it was tucked under the windshield, and then tucked all the way in the back of the car, and I'm like, well, this is really Final Destination. She's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well. So I started telling her the plot of Final Destination. I'm like, and then
Oh
Death
man.
chases them and tries to like
And it's like the
collect them
weirdest
again.
accidents where you're like, well, that could happen
Yeah.
and that could happen. All right, so let's see what this guy's beef is. Sadly, I don't have it on like a monitor, so I have to read it from my phone.
Oh, do
All
you
right.
want me to send it to you real
Today,
quick?
I was at the beach with my 3.5-year-old daughter and my wife. After a while, my daughter asked if she could jump from the bathing dock into the water. My wife asked if it was safe, and I responded that I would hold her hands. She also had inflatable armbands as she can't swim. We have jumped multiple times like this from the docks and rocks and edges onto the ground, where my daughter would adjust the speed of impact by adjusting the force she put into my hands.
Physicist.
A physicist.
I feel
Yeah, I
like
know. I was like,
force
oh,
is equal to the
I
weight times
get
the mass.
it.
Yeah, it's like
That's
no,
like almost like where they push off in wrestling to make it look. All right, all right. We tested a jump just at the edge of the beach where, Agni, can you read this? I'm sorry. It's just too
no,
small.
no,
And
no, no,
I
no.
feel like I'm going word for word.
Sorry.
Can't get into a rhythm. I emailed it to myself. I just got to pull it up.
Which one is it? It's the did I fail?
Yeah. They're about to jump into like a water, probably with like a giant log sticking out of it, and the daughter loses
Okay.
her.
Today I was at the beach with my 3.5-year-old and my wife.
Three,
And
five.
and while my daughter asked if she could jump from the bathing dock into the water, my wife asked if it was safe, and I responded that I would hold her hands. She also had inflatable armbands as she can't swim. We have jumped multiple times from like this from rocks and edges onto the ground where my daughter would adjust the speed of impact by adjusting the force she put into my hands. We
So
tested. Okay, whatever. We tested a jump just at the edge of the beach where the water was 2 meter. Wait, 2 decameters. Decameter. Were we in Canada?
decimeters.
Decimeters. Uh,
Decimeters.
decimeter. Oh yeah, 8 inches. Okay,
Decimeters.
decimeters. Um, where the water was 8 inches deep. I stood in the water, holding my daughter's hands, and she jumped from the plastic dock, laughing, and my wife watching from a distance. My daughter shouted happily, "Deeper, deeper." So we went three
Jonathan.
decimeters deep, and then 4 decimeters deep, and finally 5 decimeters deep, half her length. When my daughter jumped this time, she didn't reduce the speed she did previous times, resulting in a fairly hard landing on her feet onto the sand floor of the ocean. She started crying, saying she hurt her back. When my wife heard her crying, she came rushing, screaming at me that I was a bad father, that I should not have let our daughter get hurt, and that exposed our daughter to too much danger. A 3.5-year-old should not jump into water from a bathing dock. I was flabbergasted.
I bet you were, mate.
You were totally flabbergasted. All these decimeters. She had
So
not.
many decimeters.
She had not asked me to wait. Okay, well, we'll get into it. As she has not asked me to stop prior to the accident, and I saw no real danger in letting our daughter jump into the water at a sand beach. However, I am open minded. So I want to ask here, was I wrong to let my daughter jump from the bathing dock? Am I a bad father, exposing my daughter to too much danger? Any feedback would be highly appreciated. P.S. My daughter was back on her feet a couple minutes later, having an awesome rest of the day.
I mean, I just feel like I'm like, did you let her know that it was getting more and more shallow? You know, because that's what it seems like happened. Like she was jumping in and kind of like, you know, I didn't really understand his mass times volume equals force.
I think
And E equals MC
I
squared.
think they jumped into
Pavlov's dog.
they jumped into this is what the part I don't really understand. It sounds like they kept jumping into deeper water,
Oh, okay.
and I don't understand
Yeah, like
why she hurt her feet on the floor if it was deeper. Um,
yes,
so yeah, it's like the edge of the beach where the water was. Okay, and then I stood in the water holding my daughter's hands, and she jumped from the plastic dock laughing, and my wife watching from a distance. My daughter shouted happily deeper, so we went deeper, and
Jonathan.
then until they were half her length. I don't get it. What I guess is she jumped one of these times and landed in more shallow water than was what expected, I guess.
It's called a bathing dock. My daughter shouted happily, deeper, deeper. I mean, God. So we went to the 3 DM depth, then 4 DM, then finally DM, half her length. So, like,
How did she
okay,
hit the bottom?
I'm understand. Okay,
Huge
I'm
force.
getting it. Okay, so she's, dude, apparently 3 decimeters is probably like a foot, maybe not even. And then 4 is probably like maybe a little over a foot. So then 5, maybe she thought that like it was deeper than it was. So she just like thought she was gonna like have more underneath, and it was still pretty shallow. And
Ah,
she kind of like went doom, like foot butt,
yeah.
feet,
I see. Okay.
cheeks.
All right. So now, oh,
So
it was half her height. So it was half. It went up to her like stomach, and then so she landed in it, but she didn't. She didn't.
she thought it was deeper because she probably couldn't see the bottom.
Okay. I mean, to me, it's cut and dry. Your job as a dad is to expose them to danger, so that they don't,
Right.
so that she doesn't jump into shallow water again. And now she probably won't. So you probably just saved her life.
Right. I always remember like this kid I knew. He was crazy at college at Penn State, and he would study with one hand in a bucket of ice because he's like, I'll remember because I'm in pain. And he would always pass those tests. It was like the craziest thing. It's like if you're suffering, you'll remember whatever. I don't know. It'll stick with you.
I bet there's some
It's like a
validity to
struggle.
that. Yeah, like you're releasing. You're going to be stressed, and you're going to be experiencing a new experience. So it's reading while in pain. Yeah, I could see it. I
Yeah,
don't
there's
know
like
if
a
it's the
little
best way
fresh
to go about it,
door.
but sure. Yeah.
And it was like after like we came back from Thanksgiving, he was like, I can't do that anymore. We were like, oh, some crazy new
Like,
freshman we were sophomore.
yeah, it's like I can't. The hand fell off.
Yeah, right. I almost got
But I
frostbite.
passed econ one,
Right. Gonna lose that nail.
the trade off. Can I lose that now? Yeah, I don't know. I think our job is to help them figure out how dangerous things are, you know? Like Leo was in a very tough social situation this week. He was at a baseball camp, and he was one of the youngest, if not the youngest kid at the baseball camp. There was only one other 7-year-old, and he just turned 7. So, and he looks older than he is. And so there was, when we got there, and I already sort of hate baseball kids. Like whenever I went to those camps, I remember exactly the type of person.
Mm,
Not everybody, but there was always a good handful of schmuck kids, and they were just
Baseball marks.
they were just I'm the best. I'm
Yeah,
already a
yeah, yeah.
superstar.
They know everything about it.
They know
They know
everything
all the
about it.
stats,
Like
all
they're
the
better
pros.
than you. I'm taking this position. You can't have it. And you know me, like I was a pretty agreeable. Like I didn't fight anybody for
Oh yeah.
anything. I would just be
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I'm sure I'll just take this spot over here, like on the sidelines. Like I'm fine.
Yeah, me too. I just was like, oh, I'll just not play, I guess.
So he went in and just to help him out because I wanted him to keep dealing with the situation. I was like, all right, well, just get out there faster than the other kids, and if you're on that spot, then they got a deal, and so he said it worked a little bit, but I put a full pack of bubble gum in his bag, and right as he was leaving, I was like, "Hey, you have a full pack of bubble gum in your bag today, like a whole bunch of bubble gum, like more bubble gum than you've ever had in your life, and it's yours. You do whatever you want with it." And then I just like sent him into the camp, and he came home super happy because he was like, "Oh, like I shared gum with like everybody." And they were all super happy, and we were all sitting around chewing gum. And I'm like, "Great!" The next day, I just threw a whole other new pack in his bag. I'm like,
What the holidays are all about.
it's a
A couple
59
of friends
cents.
sitting
Yeah,
around
it's
chewing some gum.
yeah. I mean, basically, he's going into prison without cigarettes. So I just figured I'd
Yes.
just give him something to trade. And
Defeat my enemies by making them my friend.
and then the last day, we gave him like a giant 32-ounce Gatorade
Ooh.
with sugar, not
Ooh.
not the zero, full sugar,
Not the
full
G.
stain your teeth. And I was like,
Ugh,
here you go, bud.
heartburn.
Enjoy. Well, he barely
Di-
ever gets that stuff. So it
Diabetes.
was his last
Oh
day
yeah.
of he's burning so many calories out there
Oh
anyway.
my
He was out
God.
in 96-degree weather like all week. So
Can't keep weight on.
no, he can't. No.
He's gonna be
Especially
a
because
spring bean.
he comes home and he just works out in his room like he's pretending to play baseball or basketball like in there. We have to tell him to stop.
How
I'm like,
lucky.
hey, like how about we go watch some TV, bud? Just sit
Right.
down for an
You're
hour,
like
please.
you're like the kid from Sandlot's mom. Like,
Yeah,
go jump over a fence and
yeah,
scrape your leg. Get in trouble.
yeah, exactly.
Stop playing
I don't, I don't,
baseball,
I don't
son.
think this guy. I don't think this guy failed at all. I think he's doing the exact duty of a father. Whether he got in trouble or not for it, it's like that's a rough game to play, where the kids get hurt and you start blaming each other. It's like I, I
Mm.
I don't think you really should. I think you just focus on, well, what do we do from now on? Like, can we think of a rule? Can we think of something we can do?
Well,
But to
dude, I
do
think
to do like you should have done that, it's like
it's a very important, valuable earth lesson. Like, the shit gradually gets deeper. Like, just I don't know. I just
yeah.
think
Or maybe just don't jump into
you
water
gotta
that
get a
you don't
sense.
know the depth of it, right? Like,
Also,
yeah,
this
you're
isn't like a pool built by a man.
yeah, but your three
This
and a half year
thing
old's going to
doesn't
be
care that you're jumping in.
grown up later and be out with buddies like late at night, and then they're going to be like, let's all jump in this water, and there's going to be a thought in the back of their head going, is this deep enough for us to jump into? Should we maybe, not jump off the roof into this pool?
I
I'm pretty sure there's some memory in the back of my head that says we should check this first.
I know. That's what like the greatest thing about movies was. It's like it didn't end well for any of the people that did these things
Yeah.
in the movies. I'm pretty sure it's a warning.
Yeah.
Don't
Maybe
do
watch some Jackie Chan outtakes. It's like, oh, he's on his
this.
fourth broken leg for this scene.
They are paying him. All right, I can attempt to read the next one.
Go ahead. Which one is it?
Okay. I'm not sure. All right, I'm just gonna go with this one. My wife and I have pretty standard bedtime routine with our toddler, almost 4 years old. Baths and playtime, then she reads to him and gets him into bed. She says goodnight and tags me in to get him to sleep while she goes to bed herself. I read a little more to him and transition to singing songs and saying goodnight. Some nights it can be quick, some nights it'll drag on. He'll require more books, more stories, more songs, and protests if I don't follow through. We, of course, have our strategies for working through that with him, but it can be frustrating when you're tired yourself and there seems to be no end in sight. And, of course, I'll remind myself that one day he won't be, and that I've been through this. This is every night. I'll remind myself that one day he won't want me to read and tell stories and sing songs, and that helps me through. Sometimes you still feel frustrated and have to write. It's really tough to be like, wait, this is what you're going to miss.
Right.
Here's my problem. My wife watches or listens to me on the monitor. Tonight, and this isn't the first time, it's many times, she witnessed my frustration, a sigh, a huff, me breathing to regulate myself. She came to the rescue to take over, even though she had a headache and was done herself. I was fine. I was regulating myself. I was working through it, and I was going to be with him until he fell asleep. Regulated himself enough to fall asleep.
All right. The language is making
I changed it on the
senses
fly to save him, but I remember I got to read it word for word because there's usually little nuggets in there. Like when people say like regulated himself or like we work on vibrations,
right?
I'm like, oh, stop it.
Well, it's like a signal, right? It's a
tone.
We were regulating, and it's like, oh, do you do regulation? Yes, I do regulation. You know,
I know. Do you also do sanctions?
Yes, we do sanctions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and before bed every night. Yeah, it's.
Here's the end. A couple more sentences. I feel judged. I feel micromanaged. I feel like she's violating a boundary. Boundary, regulate, vibrations.
I think
frequencies.
Frequencies.
Get the fuck out of here. Your wife just came and helped, you dick.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going
Ask her to stop watching? You mean ask her to stop being a teammate, you loser. Like, what do you mean she's judging you? She didn't
I didn't hear any of the judging. Yeah.
Right. You feel, this is the first word. I feel judged. I feel micromanaged. It's all in your head. You think that. You don't feel that. You just made it all up because you're full of cortisol and bad shit because your kid's not falling asleep. You're just misinterpreting your anger. Your fear, actually.
So yeah, like I think I was still waiting for the other shoe to drop because when you read it and he starts off with that, I was like, oh, okay. And in the back of my head, I was going, okay, well then just grab, if it's a straight frequency monitor, then just take the monitor with you into the room and then you don't have to worry about it. Or if it's a Wi-Fi one, then just learn how to disable it while you're in the room. But I'm thinking of it from a technical standpoint. I'm like, well, just unplug the camera and then plug the camera back in once you're done. Eavesdropping solved. But the real problem is the fact that she came in and relieved you. I get, I'm going to try and play a little bit of devil's advocate because the guy has no leeway here. He's guilty. The only thing I would think of is that when you start something, hold on.
Oh, wait, I forgot that this has happened several times. And do you want to just hear the last sentence?
Yeah.
Like where because he asked some questions that are kind of good. What do I do? Ask her to stop watching, unplug the monitor. Please offer me your collective wisdom. I think she's building resentments every time I don't perfectly do exactly what she would do. That adds a lot more to it.
It does, but I need an example.
Speak up there, Biff.
Well, I also need to hear her words. Again, like you said, it's only in his head until there's
He
an
should have
actual
picked a better
interaction.
story because he said it happened many times, and this is just the one where it's like, well, if she didn't like jump on the monitor and be like, "Stop huffing and puffing," like do this or
That
do
would have
that,
been
or like
rough. Yeah, if
put
she
on
was
his
speaking through it.
light. But it's like judging. First of all, dude, we're all judging nonstop, 24/7. It's just like it's not judging. It's we're just evaluating all the time.
Yeah.
But like she didn't like tell you you're doing anything wrong. She saw you
I mean,
failing. But go ahead. Sorry,
no, I mean,
I want to hear your advocacy.
I'm, I'm very much, I very much suffer from the problem that this guy is posting about. I don't post about it on Reddit, but I do post about it. I mean, I do act it out. And like even today, one thing about the baseball camp that has been bad is that Leo's been getting sunburn. And because he's out there all day and we pack him with sunblock and stuff, but it's not like there's a dedicated sunblock person making sure that they're getting a lot of sunblock. And he,
2 hours and he's due.
right.
You know
So
what I mean? Even with 30,
yeah. So
like
we
me.
after Monday, we upgraded him with like heavy duty stick, like
Mayonnaise.
the stick roll on
Oh, it's
basically.
like
So to just kind of like the stuff that you would put on your nose, like we're putting across like his whole face and neck and everything, and that
mhm.
seemed to help. And he's actually we put it in his lunch so that he would remember like while eating lunch to stop and put more on. Besides that, he was mostly covered up, and his arms for somehow his arms are fine, but his neck for some reason, probably because he's like looking around and it's rubbing off and stuff like that. But we had a moment where we're becoming very sensitive about it, and so I made sure to get his whole face, and right as we were like about to leave, it was like, oh, did you get under his eyes? And I was like, well, I mean, I think I did, but if I didn't and he gets burned under his eyes, like let's just do it again, like I don't know, like
Doesn't he have the
I did all of his skin. I don't know, like if it doesn't look like it's right underneath his eyelids, then do I have to go back and do it? Like it was kind of like this point of contention. Like, are you saying that I did it wrong, or are you saying so?
Oh yeah, I know that.
Those type of
God, I
things get up,
fucking hate that shit.
like when it's gonna.
I guess I wasn't focused on that one spot. I was trying to get the entire spot.
Well,
Christ,
but the thought that
wearing a
goes.
ball. God, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I was just saying like the thought that goes through my head though in that moment is more about me getting blamed later than the real issue. And I think some of the part that gets lost that I always need to try to figure out. And after I regulated myself, I got back to the point of like, hey, remember, he's got sunburn. We're trying to keep him good. He's loving the baseball camp, but we can't have him keep coming home, and we need to make sure of these things, right? So maybe her
Right.
question wasn't like insurance to yell at me later.
I don't think it ever is.
No, it's never that. It's
Too
never that.
nice.
But in my head, it's like for some reason that's like, well,
Get
the
on the
number one
deep.
cause of these things is insurance to yell at you later, and it's like it never is. But for
I
some
know, but
reason,
somehow you're like wired that way.
survey says, like it always comes up that way. So I think that's what he's doing as well in this situation where it's, she's coming in to relieve because he's not like, I think he wants to finish putting the kid to bed at like his way, even if he's upset. Like he wants to get through the whole thing and finish it and not, and I understand him not wanting to be judged by it,
Totally.
but chances are both scenarios are correct. Like I think he wants to do that, but also he's being paranoid.
Yeah, right. I don't think it. Now, look, he said like she's done it many times, but like unless she's said to him, "You do this wrong. You need to do it this way," she's just helping, and that's all it is, man. Like you're not there to score points. You're just there to make sure whatever the scenario is, the kid is good.
Well,
And if you have to tap out, then just tap out. Who gives a shit? No one's keeping score.
well, good. But let's think about it. Let's stay on the wrestling analogy, since we've somehow applied a wrestling analogy to almost everything we've talked about.
I know.
If imagine a tag team match, right, where you're in,
Yeah.
but your tag team partner reaches over and tags you out when you're in the midst of the fight, right?
Then that's a split.
Then
The team is splitting.
the team is
An
splitting, right?
unwanted tag. Yeah, you're right.
So
But
he's kind of getting an unwanted tag. Like, he's not asking for help. He's not leaving the room. He's catching his breath, and the wife's coming in and tagging in, which can be a good thing, right? But I think it just might be a conversation.
yeah, I know. Like, it's like, let's exhaust all the like options after one, which is tell your wife, hey, no matter what, I got him.
Right.
You don't need to come in. I want you to sleep.
Right.
I got him. Doesn't
Right.
matter how much I huff and puff. You should have said that the first time. So
Yeah,
easy.
but we forget. It's easy. Not easy for. I don't think it's easy for everybody. I mean, I think I've been in that situation too, where because you get so stuck in that mentality of, it's like, where you think like, oh, you're just saying that because you want it your certain way, and I'm never going to do it the right way, or something like that. Like, you can build that mentality around it, and then every single word, like, hey, do you need some help? Why would I need some help? Why? Because I'm not doing it right? It's like, whoa, like,
yeah, right. It's
tap
like
the brakes.
it's like this microscopic fear of like, what if she all of a sudden decides to see me the way that I have seen myself? And then that like translates into like also parenting. It's like, oh, yeah, and then also like like gross, disgusting, sloppy, cold mashed potatoes right on top. Oh, it's like when you're cleaning a window and they go, you missed a spot with the eyelids. It's like, I was trying to get the whole thing.
Right.
But like the right thing is, oh, I don't know. Hold on, let me double check. But like, you're still like that. You're still you. You're not like this brainless servant.
I made some homemade ice cream, homemade chocolate ice cream, and it's like a 2-3 day process, because you got to like freeze the thing, and then you got to cook all the ingredients and let those cool in the fridge like overnight, and then put it in the ice cream maker. We made it, put it, and then take it all out and put it in the freeze. It was a new recipe, so I was just trying it out. And there's probably some things I would change, but it was just funny because I passed it out, and they're like, it's good. It's a little gritty. And I was like, okay. Like, and I was open to the feedback, like, and they were right. Like, parts of it was good, but it was like a little bit gritty. And it's probably because I used chocolate chips instead of getting like a bar of semi-sweet and chopping it. Because it probably had some emulsifier on it, or any that regardless.
Wow, you're becoming a connoisseur
In this situation,
emulsifiers. I've heard of that word once.
There was, but the reason I'm saying it is because, like, on some level in the back of my head, it was like, I'm sorry, are you enjoying a from scratch, like, sweet chocolate delicious heaven that somehow hasn't met Turkey Hill's standard of smoothness?
When they tell me to put off, like, I'm going to just try the original Star Wars. I'm just going to put it on. Yeah. When they turn it off, I'm like, you don't know shit. You're going to grow up with no imagination. I'm like, this is standard. Or you'll just suck your whole life. You'll be one of those kids who has to say, oh, no,
I made them.
It's going to matter.
I forced them to watch the theatrical release of all of the originals.
Oh, wow.
So it was like the green Lucasfilm and everything. I was like, you aren't getting special edition nothing. Like, you are going through like hairs on the screen and like lost audio clips.
Those
like
burnt film
things
before a transition. All right. So this one is the next one that I wanted to read. It was posted a day ago by Snorting Sawdust. So I'm guessing he's a construction worker. Oh man, again, such a common theme in these things, the ages. Everybody's just not like you're just not there. You're still kind of like a teenager.
How old are they?
23 I, male, 23, and wife, female, 22, have 2 kids.
Babies. These are babies.
A 1-year-old boy.
I guess
And
these are like our parents. Like our parents.
Well, yeah, right. In the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
This is not then. Okay. A 1-year-old boy and a 3-month-old little girl. We wanted kids. We tried for kids. We got our kids, and then we got her tubes tied. When she got pregnant the first time, again, the title is I'm Starting to Get Sick of All the Stairs. When we had the second, everyone said we were making a mistake because of the financial burden of having 2 children, and it would be
screw
too
those
much
people.
to take
Shut
care
up.
of them. And I know it's like almost
What are
everyone.
almost
Everyone is that.
What are these 22-year-old people that are
Like,
telling you? Like, who's telling you? Shut up.
There's this like miniature percent of everyone that was like financially ready to just make a bunch of kids. Everybody was like, I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out.
Kids have not cost me that much. I don't know where people are getting this from. I mean, like maybe it's because we already had health insurance and like adding them on wasn't like a big deal. I'm still like, and I know college is a thing, but maybe college won't happen by the time that they're ready to go to college. Like maybe that'll just be done and we can all just learn from YouTube and save money. Like
Daycares are pretty brutal.
daycare is pretty brutal. That's something that needs to get fixed, right? Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess we benefited from that a lot.
All these kids
Yeah.
that were we have to have,
right,
and then get crushed to put them to school seems a little not American.
That's true. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot that one because, well, we went the route of moving family into our house to watch them, so it wasn't a financial burden, and it was great, but there's definitely cost for everybody involved. But I mean, like, yeah,
financial cost and other forms of cost.
Yeah, there wasn't a financial cost, but there was other forms of cost. But besides that, like once they start going to school, like regular school, they're not that expensive. Like it's like,
Yeah, I know.
like
Hannah goes to free school now. It's like we got a raise because her preschool, daycare / preschool. It's kind of like it was crazy. She like did that all the way up until kindergarten from like 6 months.
Yeah,
and that was like college.
Right.
And now she goes to it's public, but it's not like it's like a private public where like it's a lottery. Not everyone gets in.
Yeah.
We just got lucky.
That's what we have to. Yeah, but then everything's kind of taken care of. Like mostly, I've just had to feed them. I guess camps are kind of like daycare. So like summer camps are kind of like that too. Yeah. But you just don't do the expensive ones. Like I don't know. Like I look at the expensive ones. I'm like, you want $600 a week? Have a fantastic time at your camp. Like I'm not setting
like my camps were like a glorified backyard.
Yeah, I've been trying to, since I've been home. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Like, can I count this as income? Like 2 kids not going to camp. Since I'm
yeah, right. Society should pay me.
I'm like, hey, Ruby, we're going to Home Depot. Let's go.
Yeah.
Who would have figured out this curriculum?
Now let's learn about emulsifications. All right. In public, people look at us with these pity looks all the time, like our lives must be absolutely miserable.
Who?
I don't think you're interpreting correctly. There's so many misinterpreters out there, especially people that are on this, because you're just not seeing faces. Old women make comments about how we got started young. Our friends act.
That just sounds like a
Oh,
fact.
no,
Like you
go.
did start young. Like how
And
much
like
younger
who?
would you have started?
Our friends act like we live the worst life imaginable. We
Good
wanted
friends. Good friends.
these these children. We love these children like they're pets. I wouldn't trade these kids for anything in the world, and I love every single dude. You're saying too many obvious things. Moment of their being their father. Just because we are young, it doesn't mean we didn't intentionally choose this life. We weren't an accident, and I'm tired of people acting like they are. On top of that, when my wife got her tubes tied, everyone said we would regret that because we would want more in the man, this guy's so new. No, we
That
wanted
part
two.
that part that part I might agree with. I feel like that's really fast to like all of a sudden get your tubes tied. Um that part I actually agree with. It just seemed like just
That's what I'm saying.
of other birth control. Like that just seemed like surgery just seems like really quick to go into at at 22. But whatever. Keep
And
yeah.
just the just the overuse of the word everyone.
Well, they're 22. So I mean, let's take it with a grain of salt. This is they
Oh,
haven't
I know.
learned
It's not
all
like
the
he's
adjectives yet. They're still their lexicons are still getting
everything,
fiddled.
everyone, no one, nobody. All right. Neither one of okay, hold on.
The
We
sit
want
deals and absolutes.
we wanted to, we got to. We are sticking, isn't that absolute? Isn't we are sticking with two. How are you going to act like having kids is a mistake and then act like preventing kids is a mistake? Sorry. We like having sex without a piece of rubber between us. Neither one of us party. We don't smoke. I don't drink. We don't smoke. I don't drink. She'll have a glass of wine or two every. Gosh, it's just so everything that we say at this age.
This sounds like something. This sounds like a party. Like
He
a
just he sounds like
I'm a
some.
social smoker. I don't smoke. I just do it when I'm out socially. It's like
It's like these early 20-year-olds
I don't
who
smoke.
when
I
they're
vape.
saying it, they think that no one has said it before.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. This
like
is a
it's like
novel thing.
God,
Like
man, it's just so
they're
generic.
like, I just need to stand up for my beliefs, and it's like these aren't beliefs.
Yeah, this is just
Everybody thinks this way. This is not special.
we
Sorry.
don't have a big social life. We just want to be our little family on our little farm and be left alone. I have a decent job. We have a house. I make enough for her to be a stay-at-home mom.
Nice.
We are
Is that an
literally
acronym?
living the yeah, Sam. We're literally living the American dream, and people act like it's a mistake. I just don't get it. Sorry for the lack of formatting. Dude, that's good for you, bro. Um, I didn't have much time to get it all typed. Sorry for the lack of formatting. I guess.
He wanted paragraph Shostak pretense.
Yeah, edit. Thank you for all the kind words. I would like to say I am not bitter about it. I really care. It just gets on my nerves sometimes, and I would rather rant about it to Reddit than trap someone in that conversation. That's sad, man. What a different mind.
Like that
Like
you
they
wouldn't
have
want to talk
different
about it.
that is like their instinct as that age. Like I'd rather go to this and just throw it to the strange world instead of I don't have a friend that I
Yeah.
can talk, that I trap them in a conversation. He's been like, I don't know, taught or led to believe that. God, that's just a bummer.
Where are the stairs
Um,
coming from too? Like I don't get how that works, because
is it
like
super
you're at
obvious that you're young? You're not that young.
are
I mean,
you
you're young, but
but I mean like where are these stairs happening? Like you're at the grocery store? Like I've never seen anybody stare at anybody.
Yeah, right. I know. Like
I just, I
you're
maybe
all
I'm
alone
missing
on your
something.
farm.
I don't like the like where they say that their justification for where they take the justification for tubes tied. That doesn't make sense for me. Where they say like, oh, just so now it's bad if we do it, and it's bad if we don't. Like it's bad if we have kids, and then it's bad if we prevent ourselves from like those are mutually exclusive
I know you're
topics.
just making an art. Yeah, you're just
You're mixing it
creating it.
together, and you're like, oh, just because one
I know.
idiot like said something to me, that means that I can just not do that forever. And
Right.
to prove them
Right.
wrong, like it, no. I mean,
Oh,
make your
oh.
own decisions. Like if you guys sat down and you talked about it, and you're like, we're done, that's it. You know, cool. But you are pretty young. I mean,
I know. I remember like you think at that age that it's like you don't like I don't know. It's again, it's like 9/11 looking at the burning buildings. The perception of time is like or perception of just like the distance. It was like um I don't know. I know but I don't. I can't like put it all together yet.
right,
And when you're young like that, when you're 20, you're like, all right, yeah, let's have kids and then shut it down. And it's like, yo, dude, in like 10 years, you're still only going to be early 30s.
right.
Like, you don't know. That's a massive decision. Get her tubes tied. That's so extreme.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she just get like an IUD or wear a
Or,
condom? Who the
or, or,
fuck cares?
or you could get a
Pull out.
vasectomy and then,
Have your tubes tied. Well, yeah, what are you making guys for? It's pointless.
right.
Seems a little sawdust snorty.
I feel like with hers, it might like she might think later on, like, you know what, I might want to. I mean, I guess some of these things are reversible, but it's like why you would just jump right to surgery at 22 is rough.
Yeah, that's
Um,
extreme.
it sounds like you're
That's
making a
extreme.
lot out of
Yes.
nothing here too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a lot in his head. Because he's like, people are giving me looks, judging me, and I'm like, I, I have a feeling facial reading, facial whatever, like your ability to look at someone's face and tell their mood or tell their like, is like drifting away. I just feel
Well,
like people are like not seeing faces enough anymore.
why didn't well apparently he sees a bunch of faces. That's the other thing. Like he's seeing a bunch of stares all over the place. So he must be not even on his phone and just like looking around for a reaction from everybody. But here's the thing I don't get. Did he not have like the come to God moment when the kids are born where all of a sudden you really don't care about other people? Where you're like, oh, this is
Oh
the
yeah,
most
right. I
favored
know.
person in the universe.
Yeah, right.
And if somebody
Yeah.
gives me a stare, it's like, well, good luck. You know, like I really
Being a
man,
dad is
having a
like
great day.
you get to permanently play like in character. You know what I mean? Like if they're there with you, it is like throwing the cape on and being like, "What?" Cuz your
We
kid is there.
we had so much fun today. I mean, like I mean, just think about just we're hanging out at a cheesesteak sausage place connected to a Home Depot, and I'm explaining the plot of Final Destination to Ruby while we wait for our cheesesteaks. Like it really is an ideal moment, like as a dad, where I'm trying to explain the situation. There was also like a sign that showed a cow pooping with a with an X
No,
through it. A
no
cow with
BS.
horns. No BS, right? And so then she started asking me about that, and I was trying to like kind of dance around it. And eventually I was just like, it's a bad word. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know it yet. And she was like,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
She
Good
she she,
job.
she dropped it, but I'm like,
Um,
she's like, I kind of thought. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Seinfeld was on Neil Brennan's Blocks podcast and he was like, "My favorite time is garbage time with my kids." He's like, "When we're just doing nothing. We're just kind of like sitting around and waiting for, food or whatever the heck you
Oh
just
yeah.
said. Like that, where it's just like we're not like at an event. I'm not watching you do something on stage. We're just like sitting and eating, waiting for cheesesteaks, talking about
Yeah. trying to explain a plot to a movie you're not going to watch for 7 years, right? Like I'm going to just try to get you through.
a movie that I'm actually going to be like, just don't watch it.
Just don't watch.
It's kind of
It was an important thing in
not
my
fun
generation. It will
afterward.
not be
Yeah,
an important thing in your generation. You'll
it
have
was
your
an
own Final
interesting.
Destination.
See, I was assuming that the stairs were from his wife, or maybe like in-laws, not just people at Costco.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't see why somebody would see like a dad with his kids and stare. It seems like the most boring thing. I smile at almost everybody with kids. I think I always
Yeah,
have.
me too.
So
I always do now way more because I'm like, it's pretty amazing, isn't it? That's what I think. I'm
you're
like,
having a good time.
wow, you're doing it too. We're doing it. We're doing it. Somehow we're doing it. That's like what it feels like. Like
Yeah.
almost like someone at the gym with you. You're like, what? I can't believe we're even here.
I find
Good to
myself
see
I find
you.
myself
It was a
putting
good.
my hand on like people's shoulders a lot, like especially like at a party when they start like going off about kids and stuff, and I was like, "Hey, they're
Oh yeah,
wacky, aren't they?
I'm
Like
a
they're
big
just out
toucher.
there." Yeah. I don't
I
I'm
probably
not.
overly.
I just end up doing that because I'm like, "Hey, we're in this."
Yeah, it's like it's not just like, oh, we're Eagles fans.
Right.
It's like, oh, the door in our brain, that door opened too, and yours too.
Right.
Like, it's great. It's just like it's insane. Um, my 5-year-old thinks I'm a bad mom to him.
Mm.
My son was running outside and fell on his knees 3 days ago. One of his knees bled a little, and he has asphalt scratches. He has asphalt scratches because of it. I cleaned it up, a Band-Aid. I'm going to read it as is, okay? I cleaned it up, put a Band-Aid on it, but last night I took it off to air it a little bit. Okay, John Locke. Or actually, fake Locke. He wanted it
Rest
off,
wound.
and then
Gangrene hadn't set in yet.
take off that, the oxygen will do it some good. Okay, he wanted it off, then cried, seeing that it's not healed already. I got him to calm down. Now this morning, he will not get out of bed because he says if I don't pick him up to bring him to the living room, he will be staying in his bed. He says he can't get up because it hurts him too much. I see it doesn't hurt him because I saw him running like crazy just yesterday.
You don't need to
LOL.
explain to us that it's not like okay, good.
It's been over 2 hours and he will not get up. I put him relaxing music to calm him in his bedroom. You mean put him back to sleep? I talked to him about real people who are really hurt and about Terry Fox.
That is not the route I would have taken, but okay.
Who's Terry Fox?
I don't know who that is.
I thought
Is that like a recent news
Is that like,
story?
I can't breathe? Floyd. Still nothing. What can I do? He's calling me a bad mom and saying I'm just mean to him because he's hurt. He never did this before. I asked to put a new Band-Aid on him, but he doesn't want to look at me right now. I need advice on what I can do.
Terry,
He's
hold on.
5 and level 2 autism.
Well,
Level 2.
I don't know what that
So
means.
just like me.
I mean, I probably would lead with the autism. That seems like
I know.
that might change the situation on how you handle it. This seems extreme. So, what she did was to a 5-year-old who scraped their knee, referenced an athlete who had had amputated a leg due to cancer, and who still
Terry Fox?
who still did like a across the Canada run and stuff, like on one leg, or with his leg and his amputee leg. I guess he has a you know a prosthetic leg. So her thought to explain to a 5-year-old that he can walk after getting a scratch on his knee is to say that an athlete who lost his leg to cancer went all the way across Canada so you can come downstairs. I think that's too complicated of a concept to bring to a 5-year-old.
Mm.
I think the correct answer is
Yeah, right. It's not A to B and A to C. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a perfect match to
it's
convince a kid to do something.
if there was like a lack of confidence that something could be done, then you bring up somebody that overcame a tragedy. This isn't the time where they need to overcome something. You just need to get them to stop complaining and come
Exactly.
downstairs. Like
There
so
was
yeah.
a moment last night or maybe 2 nights ago where Hannah, she's still kind of a bit of a bedwetter, and it's weird because Charlie all of a sudden isn't,
Hmm.
and so she still wears a pull up to bed. And the other night she's like, I don't want to wear it. And I'm like, why? She's like, I'm not a little kid. She's like, I want to be a big kid. I'm like, dude, dad went to bed till he was like 12, and I would have died to have these things because my mom used to have to change my sheets all the time. And I was like, bud, I had to wake up early this morning, put those sheets in the wash, then rush home from work at lunch, take them out of the wash, put them in the dryer, and then after work, come make your bed. I was like, the least you can do is just wear one until like you get this thing under control.
Mhm.
So she understood that. She was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I even said it way simpler. I kind
But you weren't
of
like,
course,
there
overdid it for
was
this.
an Olympic athlete who also wet their pants. It's like, well,
I was
okay.
just like, I got to do all this stuff if you wet the bed. So,
Yeah.
and I saw you take a couple of gulps down there. So, uh,
I will say this. I've used that approach several times, and recently I've started getting I'm sorries from the kids, so I think I need to back off of that technique. So it's
it's the
it's
first time I've ever done that.
it's good to yeah, it's good to be truthful, but
But I never want to whip out. It's hard being your dad.
yeah, the end game, they're like, "Hey,
It's a
like,
dark
Dad,
road.
I just grabbed an extra plate, for dinner. That's gonna be another plate you have to wash." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "I'm sorry, Dad." I'm like, "Okay, I might have used this too much. I might have made it too real about what I'm taking care of." Um, I don't know. If this was like a dad situation, I would just be like, I'll be downstairs. Like, I don't know, a 5-year-old with a scratched knee telling me that they like, you need to carry me. My reaction is like, see ya. I'll see you downstairs. Your cereal will be ready.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of like throwing back at them, like, oh, did your knee get re injured after you were running around yesterday? Because I thought it was not different. Like, how is it worse now? Like, we're
I
done
mean,
here. We're at the bones of this.
or you just, the other thing you could do
Liar.
is just play it real calm and just
Liar.
slowly walk out of the room, and then 4 minutes later walk back in with a big bowl of ice cream and be like, oh, and just sit across from the bed and be like, oh, it's a real shame that you can't partake
Oh.
in this. Oh,
Oh.
delicious. Today was going to be ice cream for breakfast day, but
Lunch
unfortunately
and
you
dinner,
couldn't. Yes, for lunch, dinner, and snack,
but
and
only at the table.
but only at the table, and unfortunately you can't make it there. So, man. Well, there's always next year. Of course, you never know when that day will be because we roll the dice every morning, me and your mother. So, well,
And
good luck.
I'll bring my bowl up when I'm done. You can put it on your damaged knee. That's damaged again.
Maybe after I'm done eating, my cold bowl will feel good on your wound. Um, I don't know. Yeah,
Your wound.
your wound, flesh wound. I don't know.
Almost in the bathroom.
Did he say anywhere in there that did the kid say you're a bad mom? I'm gonna call false advertising on this.
I think I asked to put a new Band-Aid on him, but he doesn't want to look at me. You know, I've been there. Charlie will do that. She'll just shove her face in the couch. I'm like, bye. I put him, dude. Her
See
and
ya.
I are such a
See ya.
almost Abbott and Costello. It's almost like good John and bad John. We're funny, but like I want to uppercut her through the ceiling. It's been over 2 hours and he will not get up. I put him relaxing music to calm him in his bedroom.
Hold on. It's been 2 hours? You've let this go on for 2 hours.
And like, does he have to get up? Like, if
Is
a
this
kid
like
doesn't have to get
school?
up, don't get them up. They're growing.
If it's like 6
I
and
mean, if
you
it's
have
like
to be to
noon,
school by 8, like, you should probably
well,
get
yeah,
them up. But if you don't have
that's what I'm
anywhere to
saying.
be, then it's like, all right.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, it doesn't mention like why he has to get up.
I've never found a 5-year-old that could lay in bed for 2 hours.
Oh my God. My kids wake up before the rooster crows.
Right.
Which is good.
I don't know.
I guess.
That just seems odd to me. That seems like an exaggeration. 2 hours? 2 hours just seems like way too much.
But I put him relaxing music to calm him in his bedroom.
Why do you have
No,
to calm him? He's already
that's going to
calm.
put him back to sleep.
Right.
I talked to him about real people who are really hurt and about Terry Fox and O.J. Simpson. Still nothing. What can I do? He's calling me a bad mom.
I showed
mean.
him pictures of mutilated children from other countries. Like, it's like, why?
Pictures of Nagasaki.
Yeah. You're trying to trick him out of bed. You're not trying to scar him for life. Like, this is weird.
Like when she said, or when he says you're being a bad mom, it's like, okay, then or we're done here because I'm
He
not
didn't finish
mean.
his P's, so I taught him about Hiroshima. It's like, whoa.
Hiroshima.
Jeez.
All right. Hold on.
Got some dum-dums tonight. These are dumb people.
Okay, this one looks juicy. My husband lied about where he went and who he went with.
Dun, dun, dun.
End on a preposition. I've been married for a couple of years and we recently bought a house together and spent a lot to renovate it. I found out a few days ago that my husband lied about where he went a couple nights ago. I mean, God, all that
2 nights.
useless words.
You've digested this in 2 nights and you're like, Reddit. You're like, 2 nights? Reddit. Right to Reddit.
But like, who cares when you found out and where he went? Like, it's just like he went out a couple nights ago.
I'm still wondering what renovations were done. Get some ideas.
Oh, right. Spent a lot on to renovate it. I found out a few days ago that my husband lied about where he went a couple of nights ago. Like,
you found out on the day? I'm so confused. You found out a couple of nights ago where my husband was a couple of days ago. That sounds like you found out the night that he went.
Yeah, I know. It's like your times don't work. So it all happened on the same day? Or 3 days apart or 6? I saw that one of the tickets had been forwarded to a female. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. I found that he went to one of those alternative nightclubs that have BDSM room, sex performers, room for couples.
Fake. This is fake.
I saw that one of the tickets had been forwarded to a female.
Yeah, I'm sure all those places
had
tickets. I'm sure there's lots of traceable tickets for places like that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they want a trail.
Yeah, Ticketmaster has tickets.
Yeah, right. Live Nation. I also saw that he had booked a hotel room with a jacuzzi 1 hour after booked.
How would you know that?
After booked the tickets.
How do you know what room he got? Room with jacuzzi. First off, where are there hotel rooms? Hold on.
The jacuzzi feature. The heart. When I confronted him, and after the denial, he confirmed that he had initially planned to go with the female friend because she had been to that type of event before, then later decided to go with a guy instead because he concluded that it would be inappropriate to go with a female.
I think it's all inappropriate at the moment, but okay.
Concluded.
What if he went by himself? Would it not be inappropriate then? It'd be okay. Like the going with a female is the problem, or
Gosh,
going to this place without telling your wife and getting a hotel room with a jacuzzi. It's not a jacuzzi though. It's a tub with bubbles. Like that's gross. It's not like a hot tub. It's like, do you want to take a lukewarm bath and have it slowly get cold with
sit in a
bubbles?
tepid pool of my own filth. He says he didn't do anything and just wanted to look and get ideas to spice things up, which I somehow believe, but the lie has been getting to me, and I don't understand why he wouldn't ask me to go with him.
Oh, wait, so she wants to go?
I asked for the numbers of the lady and the guy friend, however, I have not been able to reach either of them, and I wonder if he gave me fake numbers. I'm not sure of my next steps because I take my vows seriously, except for airing it on the internet like I just did now. If he can acknowledge what he has done, work on building my trust, and is willing to work on our marriage with a professional, I am willing also to put it the effort, but I don't want to be taken for an idiot.
As you
Well,
just
too late.
too late.
Any advice from those who had their trust broken but were able to work through it? Too long, didn't read.
Yeah, I want to hear the summation.
Partner lied about where he went and who he went with. How do I move on from this? Girl, you straight up being lied to. Read your post like you didn't know the person. Would you believe this guy? I know. He like lied first, then it's like any interrogation. It's like, oh no, now you're telling a new story. That's lying 101.
So again, what were the renovations? I mean, I feel like
that was more interesting.
I feel like she maybe should have covered what sort of relationship they have instead of just jumping into this. Like it sounds kind of off. Something, well, a big part of it just sounds off. I don't quite get it.
Okay, I'll tell you exactly where it's off. Ready? So the title is My Husband Lied About Where He Went and Who He Went With. First sentence, I've been married for a couple of years and we recently bought a house together and spent a lot to renovate it. I found out a few days ago that my husband lied about where he was going.
He lied?
No, like he lied, but it's like we've been married and we bought a house and we spent a lot to renovate it. I found out a few days ago that he lied about where he went. Like what? Why did you mention the house and all that nonsense?
Yeah, that's not.
It's so fake and add on ChatGPT.
That's such a what? This just sounds like a bad writer. I don't think this is ChatGPT because I don't think. I feel like ChatGPT would have a better train of thought than this. This is too dumb.
No, it's like they entered stupid information, so they were like forced to put that in the first sentence.
Is it in paragraphs or is it one solid paragraph?
It's paragraphs. Name is OK-Surround 6990.
I'm not sure what she's upset about. It's not really clear about what she's upset about. Well, she's like everything would have been fine if you just invited me.
No, like so all right, when I confronted him and after the initial denial, he confirmed that he had initially planned to go with the female friend because she had been to that type of event before. So this girl's been to one of those alternative nightclubs. So he was like, I'm going to go with her because, she's been to one of those before. But then I didn't think it would be good. So I went with a guy coworker because that was appropriate.
Okay, so she knew that he was going there.
Mm-hmm. She found out. She found the receipt. Ticket, whatever.
No. But I'm saying she's not upset that he was going. She's upset that he was going with a girl.
Yeah, with a female employee and didn't tell her.
But if he had just gone by himself, would she then have been okay? Like that's the part I'm trying to understand.
You mean if he went by himself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that would have been even weirder. I think it was just the initial. He didn't tell her, and he was going to go with a girl.
Like this
And
doesn't seem like
now it's
life
like
shattering. This isn't like where like a husband all of a sudden goes to like a gay club and then the wife is like, oh no, like this is earth shattering or something like that. Like she's like, oh, I would have gone. It's like
he should
it's
have just
very
been like, he should have just been like, yeah, I went, and it was stupid
yeah.
because who cares? Yes, she's been to them before, and but it is weird that like it was like in their town and not like, well, we were away on business and they have one of those there, so we went. That's like fine, but it's like to go with her, his coworker, and not his wife. That's and to lie about it clearly because he's definitely lying. Uh, yeah, I think you should be concerned.
Maybe he's just a health inspector.
Maybe he could be
That could explain
a
all of this.
liquor salesman. Could be a liquor salesman, and those places need it too.
Yeah. He might just I mean, he's going with a coworker and maybe that's where they were assigned to go. And maybe he just didn't want to bring it up. And afterwards, he had to. He was also moonlighting as a jacuzzi inspector for Hilton, and he needed to,
Right.
do a surprise test on one of the rooms.
This could all be. Yeah, he had to do like a purity test, like a pH level.
Oh yeah, yeah. He had to dip
That's
it in.
why it was specified in the receipt
I think
and in
I think
the.
that I think it's all explained. I don't think there's any mystery left in this. I think we've
No, no, he's
shaken it
not
out.
honest Abe. I think.
I think he's just a hardworking blue collar guy.
Oh man, this one. The title is "Need Advice." Hold tight because this is a shit show of a story, and it is 2 pages, single spaced.
It better deliver.
Yeah, better.
That's a big headline to be like.
Need
McDonald's
advice.
didn't get my order right.
Before you judge me, too late.
Wow.
Please, I know.
Give us a second.
Please know that I'm in a place in my life that I feel broken, exhausted, and just downright mentally defeated.
So everybody. Okay.
What I'm about to write is about my marriage, but the full story starts back in 2018 when my husband and I first started dating. My husband and I matched on Tinder, but we were old acquaintances. I was formerly a preschool teacher and had taught his child in 2016-17. At that time, the only interaction we had was at pickup drop-off, and we had no interest in each other. I was also formally engaged during that time. Anyway, jumping back to 2018. We matched on Tinder, we started talking, and I asked him to be my date to an upcoming Friendsgiving with my friends. He agreed, and at that date, he informed me that he was still legally married, but he separated and living separately from his wife. I was shocked because I was always under the impression that him and his ex-wife either never married or were divorced, especially considering I only saw her maybe once or twice during my time as a preschool teacher teaching his child. I know.
I mean, it seems okay. It seems plausible so far. I'm in. Go ahead.
I was shocked. I'm just rereading. I was shocked because I was always under the impression he and his ex were either never married. So then why were you shocked? Oh, because you thought they were never married. Weird. Okay. Regardless, I accepted it and we started a relationship in November of 2018. In June of 2019, okay, so 7 months later, his marriage was officially ended with divorce, and that's when the road of shit began to unveil.
Oh my
and it's
goodness.
been an endless road since.
Yes.
I discovered at the time. Hold on a sec.
Killing me. You're leaving me in suspense.
I discovered at the time that he had sent text to his ex-wife not long before their court hearing, basically implying that what if their divorce is a mistake? and what her thoughts were.
That
His
sounds
ex-wife
also
basically
normal.
his ex-wife basically, yeah, I know, basically told him that it was so easy to think that things could be normal between them again, but she didn't know if that would be the truth or just their heads thinking that. Based on her reaction to me, it seemed as though she had still feelings for him, considering she didn't exactly deny him. I was hurt by it, but we moved on. May of 2020, I found out I was pregnant with our first child. At this time, I found out my grandpa had stage 4 head and neck cancer, and it was only the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll admit, looking back on it, I overreacted, but again, I was scared for my child and my grandpa. My husband's ex-wife is an ER nurse and was working in the COVID unit. After finding out I was pregnant, I politely asked my husband whether it would be possible for his ex-wife to wait outside to pick up their children, rather than coming in the house like she normally did because she was exposed to COVID.
Yeah, I remember. Okay.
Yeah,
What people did.
makes sense. He agreed. Even people that weren't nurses did that.
Yeah.
When he asked her to do so, she flipped out and got his mother involved. What's she gonna do? That turned into us being forced into telling.
You said that
was she
like you
gonna,
knew her. You said that like you knew her. You're like,
well, if they said
what is she gonna
got
do?
her grandfather involved, then I may be like, ugh, scary. But it's like, what? Got her mother involved. That just made it messier. That turned us into being forced into telling my husband's parents that I was 6 weeks pregnant because we told them it was only fair. We told
6 weeks. Why are you telling anybody at 6 weeks?
I know. Because they had to.
Why?
Because they were like, we don't want you coming in. And they were like, why? And she was like, because you're
COVID.
a nurse and you're doused in COVID and I'm pregnant. But you didn't have to throw that in. May of 2020 was like
COVID didn't have effects on pregnant people, did it?
No. After finding out I was pregnant, I politely asked my husband whether it could be possible. Okay. He agreed, and we felt we had to tell his ex-wife. We stopped freaking out about not being allowed in the house for the time being. Well, finding out I was pregnant just pissed her off even more and opened a can of worms I didn't want to. She gave me an earful about her marriage to my husband and informed me that she rode with my husband to their court hearing for divorce. That's another story. But just to know
like
that he
the whole
lied to me
story
about that. He said they rode separately. Hours after we told her in person, she put us in a group chat and blasted us some more. Dorks.
It was a rough group chat.
She accused me of keeping her out of. I know. She accused me of keeping her out of the house to be on a power trip, and made a post about me on Facebook in some divorce group, calling me my husband's trash ass girlfriend. Some fake Facebook account sent me screenshots that I didn't ask for her to post. She also mentioned in this group chat that my husband was Snapchatting her and telling her he had dreams they were together and happy again, that he was telling her he couldn't imagine having kids with anyone other than her, and that he was afraid our child would have brown eyes and not his blue eyes. All of what she said about my husband turned out to be true, and I was heartbroken, and that he could do that to me. Damn! Holy shit!
That leaped. How did she find out that it was true?
Did leap. Way to space out your fucking progress. Dude, this is all just a complete run-on. Like, there's no spacing at all. That's what's really hard to keep going, or to keep like the same sentence. Hold on, let me backtrack here because this is crazy. She accused me of keeping her out of the house to be on a power trip, and made a post about me on Facebook in some divorce group, calling me my husband's trash ass girlfriend. She also mentioned in this group chat that my husband was Snapchatting her and telling her he had dreams they were together and happy again, that he was telling her he couldn't imagine having kids with anyone else because he was worried that she would have. So it looks like she's like saying that he's saying this on this Facebook group, but he really is.
No, he was saying it in Snapchats, right?
I don't know, but like it seems like she's making shit up, like his ex, but she's not. he's actually saying it, because she's like, all of what she said about my husband turned out to be true.
Okay.
Because it seems so like outrageous. Like, yeah, my husband was Snapchatting her and telling her he had dream. Yeah, but she was like posting this on this divorce Facebook group. God, such a dork. God. Fast forward to December of 2020. I was 37 weeks pregnant, and I got a message request from a random woman on
That's
Facebook
like
sending
you're
me
giving birth, like you're there. Okay.
screenshots of a conversation between my husband and her. My husband had added her as a friend and started messaging and flirting with her, telling her that he'd love to see her naked. She's very pretty. She has nice boobs, etc. She
Wait,
eventually she eventually discovered he was
hasn't
engaged
he
to
done
me
that already? Like, what is he? Okay.
and called him. Oh wow. She eventually discovered that we were engaged and called him out.
Whoa,
He
whoa,
responded
whoa!
by,
Wait. They got
I know,
engaged.
dude. Her transitions are so insane, because like I guess, yeah, like she skipped that part that
It's
they
kind
got
of a big
engaged.
part. It's like she's just skipping over the life altering moments. Okay.
It's one of those things where they're just like, oh yeah, we're engaged. Did you give her a ring? Did you ask? No, she
Right.
said that we were.
Yeah. Well, she's
Um,
pregnant, so
but this is crazy. These screenshots of a conversation between my husband and her. My husband had added her as a friend and started messaging and flirting with her, telling her that he'd love to see her naked. She eventually discovered he was engaged to me and called him out. He's responded by telling her that our relationship almost didn't want him to be present for our child's birth.
she did. She's so upset at him that she doesn't want him there.
He responded by telling her that our relationship almost didn't want him to be present for our child's birth. Like, so
The relationship
he,
has become sentient
he
and didn't
hates
want him
her
there.
so much he doesn't even want to be there when a kid's born. I let him though, which that was a mistake, because he basically slept the entire time I was being induced. We moved forward and got married in August of 2022. I will pause the story and mention that we did break up. This is okay. Hold on. I will pause the story and mention that we did break up in November 2019 before I got pregnant, and again in July of 2021. Our child was 6 months old. Because of his actions, he threatened suicide with our second breakup and drove his car into a street sign. I was scared for him, and he
A stop
eventually
sign.
worked it out and got back together. Now, resuming the story from the time we got married, in February 2023, I discovered from a friend that my husband had reconnected with an old flame before we started dating,
A different old
and
flame.
was Snapchatting this woman and apparently sending her a Christmas gift. I screamed at him, called him names, and stormed off. He apologized, admitted to everything, and again, my dumbass brushed it under the rug. And it is now present, June 2024, and he's at it again with his ex-wife. She went on vacation recently, and apparently my husband asked her for bikini pictures. He admitted to it, but he claims that he asked her because he wanted to see if she truly was where she said she was. She does blow off their children quite often. So that I do believe, no, that's just a good banked excuse. And the other reason was that he wanted to see if she was still chubby or if she was in shape. Regardless of the reasoning, I told him it was highly inappropriate. Yeah, right. He's given me every reason to believe he will never change. And my issue is I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have no income, and I get that everyone says it'll be okay for our kids if we get divorced, but I cannot stand the thought of missing out on
I
half of
guess.
my children's
Okay.
lives.
We also skipped the losing her job or not going back after she's. Right.
Yeah,
I thought you were a teacher. Is that not? Did that just stop?
I know. Yeah, she didn't tell us that she was a psalm. That was the other one. All right. My issue is I'm a stay-at-home mom and I have no income. And I get that everyone says it'll be okay if we get divorced, but I cannot stand the amount of missing half of my kids' lives. I don't think it's fair for the price he's forcing me to pay, and choosing my own happiness as my children. We now have 2 children together. I have been through 6 years of hell from him and his ex-wife. Shit,
Wait, how do you have two? Like,
I know. She just doesn't tell the story well.
like
It's
this feels like this feels
it's
like
not the story that's a shit show. It's the storytelling that is a shit show. I have to
it,
pee so bad,
oh,
but I can hear you.
it feels like eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Like things are just kind of like fading in and out, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like, all right, now there's like two kids. It's like, yeah, but didn't you just like say as the first kid was being born that like all this stuff was happening, and then now you're moving on to the next kid, like with all this uncertainty? I don't. It started off, I think, in a way where everything kind of is expected, like the divorce, all that stuff, the wife's reaction, his reactions, your reactions, seems like textbook for how people will react to divorce or something, you know. So I get that, I get that whole part, but then when you start saying like everything starts falling apart, and then now there's like a third woman involved with everything, it sounds like this guy kind of is just like an egomaniac. And you, it's also like if
He
he
knows that
wasn't
she's like,
divorced and you started dating him, like it's kind of like, well, he's just now doing that to you now too. Like you kind of did that to her. Like if he was still married,
yeah, true.
maybe you should have walked away at that point and been like, well, call me up when you're single. Like it's not, call me up when you are divorced and everything's taken care of. I'll see you later. How much of a home run is this guy? It's weird that you like taught his kid too. It seems very odd.
It's just so weird that like, um, I guess it doesn't say how old Keg 1196 is. Yeah, I guess it doesn't say how old they are. But it's like, haven't you been a teenager and like at least dated one or two to just, sniff that shit out? And it's just like tigers don't change their stripes. It's like, oh, he's a cheater, so he'll always be a cheater. I'll give him one more chance. Fool me once.
Yeah,
But I guess fools don't get that.
I guess she was kind of surprised by it, so maybe she was already like in the relationship at that point when she like found out that he wasn't married. I don't remember exactly when that
Yeah,
happened, but
he wasn't like officially married, and then like that drug on, and apparently they drove to go get divorced together, and he told her. See, like, and it always comes up in these interrogations. It's like if there's one lie that's an easy lie not
right,
to like tell,
right,
then it's like the whole house of cards comes down.
right.
Like one. So it's like, why did you lie about something that's so dumb to lie about that when you drive, we didn't go together, we drove separately. You just know.
I don't know.
The average age of Americans getting married in 2023, care to take a guess?
36.
Whoa. To get married for a woman, 28.4.
Oh,
And for a male,
yeah, I guess I should have guessed separately.
30.2. 1950s, it was 10 years younger.
Well, yeah, you also didn't have life past 40.
This many.
40 was like your retirement.
Right, yeah. The expectancy was quite different, and there just weren't that many of us.
And we also were just eating bacon at this point, and we didn't have to do anything. We would just
We
be like
also
smoking cigs and eating bacon and hanging out with all the guys and be like, I hope my kids are raised.
didn't have
I
the
hope all that's done.
right. Yeah. Gosh.
I don't. I mean, like, it sounds like he's still in love with his ex-wife, or his like he tried to almost talk out of getting divorced, which is understandable. Like, like if she saw that, then she probably should have been like, you know what, I'm gonna head out. But like, how fast did she get pregnant? She got pregnant like before their divorce, or the
It was.
timeline. I need a timeline. I need like a
She
infographic.
jumps around in telling it to kind of like give context, but it's not. It's like unimportant flashbacks. It's like useless.
Yeah,
It's like Jin with the panda bear.
yeah.
Didn't do anything. Um,
So I think they just got pregnant really fast. These two. That's really the problem. That
so
right there.
she got okay. So November 29 or
COVID baby.
2019, before I got pregnant, and again in July of 2021. So that was like almost 2 years later. Child was 6 months old. So like somewhere in there, she got pregnant. So like early 2020. I think she said that. Oh wait. Okay, so yeah, early 2020, because in December of 2020, she's 37 weeks pregnant.
I mean, I think the shit show here that she's referring to, I think it just started because she got pregnant. Because every other situation of this, she could have gotten out. I mean, she still could have gotten out, but like, I don't know what she's holding on to for their kid, because it doesn't sound like a dad either. Like,
The comments are pretty funny. Well, there's only one comment, but there's a funny comment and a funny name under the first comment, but you don't see what their comment is. But his name's Red Bush the pirate.
old
So
old
stupid,
red
but
bush.
silly, and
That's
still
good.
funny.
I
Good
like it.
Bush. Okay, so this is My Wife Rocks. That's the screen name. There's another option. Play his game. Reach out to an old flame and start chatting. Make sure he finds out. This will do wonders for your mental health. But the Reddit police will hate me for saying it. Oh my gosh, that's one of those two negatives.
Let's consider the
Do unto
kids.
others.
Like, I don't really think he's gonna. It sounds like he doesn't care. So why would that?
Yeah, it
He'd
will
be
do
like,
wonders for your mental health,
okay,
doctor.
great. Does that
Yeah,
mean I
he'll be
don't
like,
have to give
oh,
you half?
but you're still going to take care of the kids, right? As long as you do that, I don't care what you do. I'm chasing all these other women. Or is that all that guy's doing? Is he just like
Oh, hold on.
chatting?
There's some more information when you actually go to the site. So it says, so Redbush says this.
Yes.
So it was fine for you to facilitate his ex-wife seeing her kids half the time, but that's taking things too far for yourself. I'm 100% biased here, but you slept with a married man and now you get to live with the consequences.
Hmm. That's
And
what you
then,
said,
and then,
Red Bush.
and then OP respond to Keg 1196. I'm not sure where the misunderstanding is, but I didn't facilitate their divorce. If you read my entire post, did you read it? Hold on. Before you tell somebody else to read it, like, did you read it? Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really tough.
Did you proofread it?
It's
No.
really tough to read. Uh, they were already separated and living separately before I even came into the picture. I mentioned that in my post. She had her own house. He had his own house, and they
Right. They
were
just weren't
already
legal.
sharing custody of the kids. Okay, fair enough. Like, I don't know where Red Bush got that from, but the second question was good.
Red Bush.
Their
What was the
divorce.
second question again?
Oh, well, it's not really a question, more of just a statement of like, you slept with a married man and now you get to live with the consequences. So
The whole
um,
karma theme.
their divorce just wasn't legally finalized yet. I had no part in their divorce. I think you had some. Well, I mean, you didn't have it a part of it starting, but you definitely had a part of it finishing. There was already
Yes.
happen like because it sounds like he probably would have got back with her if you hadn't been in the picture.
Yeah, he like accelerated, or she accelerated the divorce. It
That
may have not finalized, but then it was almost like he was double second guessing it anyway.
she should have dropped. She should have just walked away until the divorce was completely done. Um, this is what else she wrote. She said, "I had no part in their divorce. That was already happening before me, and they had already filed for it. It just wasn't finalized. I don't anticipate you victimizing his ex-wife. I don't appreciate you victimizing his ex-wife. Trust me, she was and is no victim. She was dating another man when my husband and I first got together, too." Um, I mean, again, all these things don't really, these things don't connect together. Like you're like, I never called his lawyer. I never did anything to facilitate their divorce. It's like, no, but
It's
they were in the middle of a divorce and you started dating him. That makes you part of it.
I feel like
Not, I
someone
don't think
went
he
in
was
here.
saying legally, like, I'm not saying legally, like, I'm not actually calling you from the moon, Earth to Matilda. Like it's like, yeah, I know you weren't involved in their divorce, but you affected the outcome of it. Just because she was dating somebody else doesn't mean like, oh well, now they're fully done. No, they're not fully done. Get out of there.
You're just inviting messiness. If it's not all signed, sealed, and delivered to Uncle Sam. Did you see the news or the trailer for this movie Here?
Here, no,
Oh,
like HEAR or HERE
ERE.
or
Um,
HEIR.
or I was like, is there any more?
That's not even the right way to say. I just
I
wanted
know
to.
air.
I just.
That's like the McDonald's or what is it? McKine. It's like yeah, what does MacDonald spell? McDonald. What does MACSHEA spell? Mac Shea. What does MACHINE spell? McKine. That's what Baba Booey, they got him on that. And his name almost changed from Baba Booey to McKine because that was so funny. Because for any illiterates out there, machine is actually the spelling.
Okay.
It's Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and they de-age them, and it's like if Jenny and Forrest didn't have any troubles, because it's
Oh,
like they're in the 60s and they're like hugging.
oh, good for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Here,
Uh, here,
here,
here.
here.
I hear you.
Oh man,
And
these
that'll do it
ones.
for our Reddit users,
Yeah,
advice seekers.
they were. They all need help. I think all of them.
Yeah, they all do need help.
Two of them were in the head.
And
The stairs and the baby monitor were in their head.
yep,
The
yep,
husband lied one. Still don't really know what happened there. And with this one, I still don't know what happened there. The child jumping into the water, that was fine. You did fine. And I forget what this was the need advice one. What's the other one? The my 5-year-old thinks I'm a bad mom. No, you're just overly complicating things.
no, yeah, you're like you're handing over way too much power
Right.
to a kid because she said you're mean, and it's like I already know you're not mean. So like there you go, argument's over, and then now this kid has just got to crawl back
I
because he
remember
knows he's manipulating.
we were watching this. We were watching some season of the Bachelorette, I think it was,
Oof.
and I think it was like the COVID season. Well,
Used to watch the show.
Kelly and I liked watching it together just because we would like talk about it. Eventually, it just becomes fatigue because
It's the same.
it just doesn't make any sense after a
So
while.
unrealistic.
You're like, wait, what are the rules? Like, one thing that show needs is rules, like, and they need to be clearly written out. I don't quite get them. They fight over dates, but then anybody at any time can just go to the hotel room of the Bachelorette and have a full conversation. And I'm like, well, why are the dates valuable if at any point you can just go and knock as long as you've got something serious to talk about? Like it just blows all of it out of the water. It negates all of it. Anyway.
It becomes way too fake.
And then they can just bring people in halfway. And I'm like, well, how about the people that got eliminated? I don't understand how people can come in now. It's like buying back into a poker tournament, after you've eliminated half the people. It's like your odds are much like just anyway. It's all fake. It's all stupid and fake.
It's
but anyway,
too fake. It's just too fake.
It's too fake for even itself. Like if it just stuck
Right.
to its
Yeah.
rules and then just made up a show,
Made it more of a
based on those
game.
rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
but
too like intimate and like not realistic. Large coyote spotted in our neighborhood.
there was a guy.
Bring him on.
Wait, what's that? Sorry.
A large coyote was spotted in my neighborhood. Posted on Facebook.
Ooh.
2 hours ago. Hopefully they got him.
All right, keep the dogs in.
Yeah.
But there was a guy on it named Michael A, and so I was kind of attached to him just because it was, anytime they said his name, it sounded like me. So, and he had like a 2-year-old at home. In the one scene, he's like everything's positive with him, like he got a date, everything's going well, she really likes him and stuff like that, for whatever the show's trying to tell you. And then he FaceTimes his daughter, who's 2, and she's like, I miss you. I wish you were here. And he's like, I have to leave right now. And it's like, who the hell reacts to a 2-year-old like that? Like, I understand, like, if he was actually connected, but you already knew what you were getting into. Like, you already knew, like, you have to spend 3 months in this mansion hanging out with people and doing interviews and cooking food the rest of the time, I guess. Which is by far the best part of the show. If they just showed people hanging out trying to cook food in between all these things, like, that's the show I would watch. Everything outside of the edited version of the show, just give me raw footage of everybody like walking around, not edited, no spice. Like, I'd watch it.
Oh God.
I'd watch all 8 hours of it, right? Which is sort of like Big Brother and all those other things. But anyway,
I know, dude. That was a
overreaction.
thing with an ex of mine. We used to watch so much of those reality shows, and I was like, the editing to me is like it's giving me a headache because like I see it, I can just like see their swoops and their cuts and their and like I'm like, oh, it's all so staged. And
Yeah.
Biggest Loser, that was cool because they did actually lose weight, which was sometimes pretty amazing.
Can't fake that too much.
Right.
I think unless they did it in reverse, unless they filmed the whole thing in reverse, which I still think maybe they did.
Commitment.
Yeah, it's like, all right, everybody, we're doing this backwards. In the one thing, we used to watch the Australian version of Married at First Sight. I think Married at First Sight, like the concept show, started in, I think, Denmark, and then it got picked up there, and then Australia was one of the first ones to take it, and then eventually it spread to like US and TLC, and so each country like has one. There's like a Russia Married at First Sight, there's a US Married at First Sight, and stuff like that. If you watch like the US version,
I heard
it's completely Kitchen Nightmares style. It's like high drama, but
we'll be right back.
But in the Australia version, like the first 3 seasons, I would say, It's very, very homegrown. Like it feels very real. And as soon as the third season ends, it goes off the rails in the fourth season. And they're like, we don't even care anymore. Like they're
What's it called again? Love at First Sight?
no Married at First Sight. Which
Married.
which is funny because in Australia they actually couldn't do it because you can't you could they would basically just get engaged because they couldn't there's some rule in Australia about getting married and you can't do it like that or something like it was something
Wow.
ridiculous like you can't do it for like a TV show.
Wow.
Anyway, so
No
they would just get
guns
engaged
and
but they would just
no shotgun weddings.
but they would make them like live in an apartment. So they would get married, they'd go immediately to a honeymoon, and then they'd live in an apartment that the other couples were also in the apartments, and then they would once a week they'd have to go to dinner and like have a dinner
All
party.
together?
Yeah, all together, and so like everything would blow up because then everybody would see like each other's like husbands and wives, and they're like, oh, I like that person better and stuff like that. So because they would never have seen each other beforehand.
Oh, I heard someone else talking about that show. I don't know if it was the Australian version. Maybe it was because they
But
really liked it.
the
First two seasons.
the first season was only like 4 couples. It was like very low level. There wasn't any dinner party. There wasn't. They just took them, put them on vacation, then brought them back. And I feel like they were actually working, which was made things like really difficult for them because some of them didn't live anywhere near each other. So like one of them would be like, I'm here, I'm living with her. Like I have to get back to my farm and like work. This is like really stressing me out, you know? So
Oh, jeez.
it seemed like way
I
more
hate
real
that.
because they like matched people that live like on it would be like somebody lives in New York and somebody lives in California and they're just like, yeah, so figure out your life.
It's like, guys, what? Do you do a background check? Like, do you figure out if this can like happen? Or maybe that's like even more, it's more dramatic, long
Yeah.
distance.
But the rules of it were good though. The rules were if you at the end of every week you would sit down with like these like therapy experts who were supposed to be like the judges of the show. And if you would write on a piece of paper whether you wanted to stay in the marriage or leave. And if either of you wrote stay, then you stay. So if someone wrote stay and someone wrote leave, then you'd both stay for another week. Like that. Those were the rules. So you both have
Oh,
to write
wow.
leave
So
to be able to
simple.
leave. Yeah. But it also
Wow.
kind of like holds people hostage for like some weeks too.
Oh,
Because if
shit.
someone's like, I think
Turn your key, Mara.
like if somebody's just there for the
Turn your
Instagram
key.
follows, then they're like, oh, stay, like everything's great with us, but they absolutely hate each other. And it's like they don't even, live with each other and they're like, you're just holding me hostage. Why are you
Oh,
still here?
wow.
Or
That's
sometimes
so
they're in love with
dark.
like one of the other, husbands or something like that. So then they'll write stay just so they can stick around with them on this like free apartment complex that they all live in and like jump around. So
Wow.
it was a pretty good show, but we dropped out of it several times just because. And the episode number dramatically rises. So the first season was 10 episodes or something like that. The second season was like 15. Very
Oh,
doable,
yeah.
right? By the fourth season, it was something like 56 episodes. Because
Like,
they would
way
have
to just blow your expanded budget that you suddenly got.
well, I
Way to
mean,
spend it all.
we started Kelly and I started realizing we're like I think we've spent a month and a half watching this, like not a month and a half, like over a month and a half we've watched this show. Like if we added up all the time it
Yeah.
took us to
All
watch this
the
back
hours.
to back, we've actually been watching this show for a month and a half. Like I don't think we're healthy. We need to stop.
I know, man. I
It's
just like
insane.
overdid all those fake reality shows, and it was like it's just too not. It's just the same thing over, especially the Bachelor and Bachelor. Like I couldn't
That's
believe
terrible. Yeah.
10 years later, like it's still like popular. I'm like, haven't people just gone and thrown up enough watching this shit? None of them stayed together. Like one couple out of like the 50 have stayed together.
And even then, it might just be like, "Hey,
They're
you're
being
in this,
paid to
right? Yeah,
fake it.
right. Like we're in this, right? Like we're gonna
Show
keep
up on
this
Good
going,
Morning America once a year.
right? Yeah. It's like,
And
oh,
then no
Bachelor
one,
Nation, like loves you.
again, it's like wrestling. They're just characters who got married.
Yeah, they're just
They're not
like
real people.
they're committed. It's kind of like saying, is wrestling fake? It's like, well, is that fake? It's like it could be, but it's still somewhat real because they still got to keep doing it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's like, then what is fake? They're out there, aren't they?
It's
People
nuts.
touch them.
They have to keep
That's,
showing up.
you know,
Yeah, when they bring in like the counselors and when they have like the girls tell all night or something, like it just doesn't make any sense. Like I just need to know what the rules are. It's too frustrating. I get very frustrated watching that show. I tried, but like the rows calculations, the fact that like people are up until like 3 a.m. for making decisions. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why are things so late?
I'm like, the road to getting married is easy enough that it doesn't like prepare you for like the hardships that lie ahead.
Yeah.
This is like that times a trillion, like as making like life easy enough. Like they do all the greatest things you can do in
Yeah.
life. Like go to the greatest places ever, experience the coolest, landmarks and whatever bucket list shit.
Right.
And then it's like, and now back to regular life. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
It's like,
everything sucks from here on out, no matter what.
it's like, oh,
It's such a
I'm
letdown.
I'm so in love that we got to, for some reason we got to go to a cathedral that only like one pope has ever visited,
Right.
but we had dinner in it, which they never eat. Right. So it always
We had
makes me wonder.
dessert
I'm
on
like,
an ice table that melts, so you have to eat your ice cream
they
fast. And
never
there's
touch
only
any
one
of their
of
food.
them
The food's always set
in
out. They don't touch
Antarctica.
any of it. It's all just fake food.
It's like Saved by the Bell. They never
It's like,
eat it.
yeah, they never
Pisses
eat.
me off. That's why Seinfeld's great. They're always eating it.
They were really eating the food.
Always eating.
Yeah. Drives me nuts. I don't
Me
know.
too.
But I do need one of those shows. I need a good one that we can just lock into. Because the thing that it does do is that it brings out conversation. So what it did with me and Kelly was like when we watch it, like we'd end up talking about the episodes. But once it started getting more trashy and weird, then the conversation slowed down.
Yeah, you're
But like,
like,
do
you're
you want
my
to watch
wife.
another one?
We're not talking about this shit. We're married already. This is like, we didn't even have this stage.
Yeah.
It's what losers. This is the loser stage. I agree, and this is something that I pushed away so long, watching so many things that Heather likes, because she's very like, she loves SVU and Grey's Anatomy, and
Oh my gosh, it's such
I'm
a
like, it's just not my cup of tea, and I don't want to watch it because all I'm going to do is sit here and just make fun of the mistakes, even
yeah.
though Grey's Anatomy has decent writing. It's just sometimes the dialogue and I mean, not the dialogue, yeah, like the dialogue, like the storylines are good, but the dialogue and the acting
Storylines, yeah.
is very exhausting, but it's good enough to keep going. Um, but I'm like, I can still do that. She doesn't care. But I'm like, am I being negative? I'm like, I think it's just, it can be a conversation starter.
Yeah. I
No
mean,
matter
I
what.
don't, I don't think you're gonna. I don't
I'm
think
not
you're
going
gonna
to
watch an SVU with her
roast.
and then be like, "Hey, so what do you think about that pedophile? Like, what's going on there?" Like, there's nothing really to talk about.
That's what I said to her. I'm like, and these shows, somebody's bleeding to death or being locked in a basement by some predator. I don't
Yeah,
really. It's not casual. It's not Seinfeld.
and you can't. After a while, like I like watching House sometimes when I do the
Oh, I
dishes
love
and stuff.
House.
But even that you start seeing the pattern, and I could see how somebody wouldn't want to watch
Oh,
it
yeah.
anymore because you're like, well, we figured it out, we diagnosed it. I'm like, you are at the 20-minute mark. There's no way.
Not even
They use-
close.
we got 5 or 6 more. Like, get in here with the paddles. Like, there's no way.
There hasn't been like a digital rendering of what actually happened and snuck into the
Right.
bloodstream that House somehow knows.
Once you get the digital
Haven't
render,
seen that
you're
yet.
closer. They
Right. It's the
sneak
final
that in.
commercial break.
That's the final commercial break. Yeah, the last idea is always the best. But yeah, no, Kelly won't watch SVU. She's okay with House a
I
little
hate
bit,
it.
but
Sucks.
again, all the stethoscopes bother her because like people will be like
Dude,
performing surgery with a stethoscope around their neck.
all those shows, those cop shows and the hospital shows, they remind me of soap operas that are on in prime time. I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you doing on television now?
It's just a formula. It's a formula that runs through.
It's like comfort TV.
They've tried it again, but it doesn't work as well because of streaming. If there wasn't streaming, we'd still have them. Well, I mean, there still are some. I mean, I guess on the broadcast networks, but like NCIS, like those are all just, they're like, here's the formula, keep making them. Like, all right, now we're gonna have a circus one. Now
It's
we're
like
gonna have an outer space one. Now we're
like
gonna have an alien one.
Nicholas Sparks' book of television.
Right.
It's like the same stuff, but kind of different looking versions of it.
We just swap out. It's like Mad Libs. You just swap it out.
Yep.
And then all right, we need about 5 minutes of ongoing story that goes to the next episode.
Right.
That's it. It's like, so somebody just bumps their knee, and then in the next episode they're like, my knee.
Or somebody like picks up a bottle. And it's like, oh, he still hasn't kicked it. Oh, I thought there was like 2 episodes where he hadn't drank, and now he had a victory and he's gonna drink. Oh no.
Right.
It's like when he's turning face, you turn him heel.
Yeah, you have to immediately turn him back.
Yes.
But watching those things as like binge watching them, it just suffers the same syndrome as 24. You're like, how is this happening so quickly? This is like 2 days ago you were fine. All of a sudden you're back on a bender.
I just remember telling myself sometimes like, oh, well, that's like a government plane that I don't even know about. It could like fly around the world in 2 minutes. That's how.
24. Yeah, he's going up into outer space into orbit and then coming back down. Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. He's held his breath.
He held his breath. Yeah, and obviously they had that one conversation. So even though that guy tried to kill him 3 hours ago, he's completely past it now. Now he's working for him, so it's all good. All right, brother. We're at our exact time again. We're at our exact. If we took your break out of there, we'd be at our 2 hours and 37 minutes again. Like the last 3 shows have been. It's been fun.
That's amazing.
I know. It's like we have some sort of 40-year-old internal clock.
Yeah, internal clock of like, this is the ceiling.
This is how far we can make it, and we have to stop now.
Yeah,
our spines.
11:50 shit.
All right, love you, brother.
All right, brother, love you too.
Boop.
See ya.